Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome and thanks for joining us for today's virtual Cambium Networks event, helping service providers thrive in a testing market. This event is for Cambium's UK, Ireland and Nordics markets and has been organised by Dan McCarthy and his marketing and sales support team. I'm Brian Dolby. I'm going to be your host for the rest of the day. Before I hand over to Dan, I just need to explain a couple of features of the Wisdom and Isle Labs each have a virtual exhibition area. Here you can watch videos about what they do, download material and also arrange one-to-one meetings. At the end of the meeting, each of the sponsors will also be available for an hour for video calls, and everything you need is in the top right-hand corner of the screen. So a big thanks to the sponsors for today. It's also very important for you to complete feedback forms. Now, this is not just so that you can say great things about the event, but 3 of you will win Amazon vouchers to the value of £100 each, or the equivalent in euros, whichever currency you prefer. I'll keep reminding you about this during the morning. For the time being, though, let's join on the stage with Dan McCarthy, the legend of Cambium. Hello, Dan.
Good morning, Brian. You're very kind, sir. I'm not quite sure I've been called a legend before.
So it's nice to talk to you this morning. Now, you must be very pleased. I know you're a big West Ham United supporter. Are we talking Champions League? You're doing really well this season.
We have been up until fairly recently. We've had a couple of poor results, unfortunately, and a really awful game on Tuesday night against Manchester United in the cup. But I'm a West Ham fan, right? So I'm the eternal optimist. I'm living hope rather than expectation, I think, is the answer there.
Well, I think you've even recovered from Achilles tendon. You're still playing. You never know. You might make the squad one day yet.
Well, you've got a good memory. Yeah, it's a few years since I ruptured my Achilles, but I have made a full recovery now. Whether that's enough to get into David Moyes' selection criteria, well, the way they're playing, anything's possible. I could be in the team in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, there we are, you see. So tell us a bit about the morning then. It's going to be a very exciting morning, I think.
It is indeed going to be a very exciting morning. I think we've got a great set of presentations ahead of us. I think the subject matter is helping service provide and thrive, helping service providers thrive in a testing market. And obviously, times haven't been more testing than they are right now for all of us. So what we're going to learn from our Cambium experts and from our guest presenters, from our ecosystem partners, should be really educational and hopefully very beneficial to them.
Okay, well, I think our first speaker is Alessio, so I'm sure with the magic of technology, we can bring him on stage to join us at this moment. Here he is. Hi, Alessio. How are you today?
I'm very good. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Alessio.
Nice to talk to you. Now, I've just revealed this to you off stage, but I know that you're a big Juventus fan, but you didn't know till a few minutes ago that my local team in Nottingham, Notts County, gave you your first set of kit in 1903. Wow. So there's a bit of a local link with Juventus there.
Very, very nice. No, I didn't know this. Really, I'm very surprised. I didn't know this story.
Okay, so well, we've had. Go on, Dan.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut in there, but that's the reason, Alessio, that Juventus play in black and white stripes, and have done so to this very day, because of the first kit was from Notts County, who play in black and white stripes.
I can't believe I didn't know this story. Shame on me.
Well, tell you what, though, there's a big difference between the standard of football that the two clubs play, but never mind, these things happen. Anyway, I'm sure there'll be people dying to get the agenda sort of on the way here, Alessio. Now, you're going to be talking about the continuously evolving world of business. So I think without further ado, I'm going to say that the stage is yours, and let's let this morning begin.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Thank you very much. First of all, I am really excited to be here. This is our first major event in 2021, so I am really excited to start with an event dedicated to service provider for UK and Ireland. My name is Alessio Murroni, and I am the VP Sales for Europe, and I'm currently talking and presenting from the Milan office in Italy. So, first of all, I want to share something with you. The Cambium Networks is growing, is winning, is expanding, and it is scaling. Our wireless fabric portfolio is being really, really successful. The market is recognizing that the wireless fabric, the full end-to-end solution, it's a very strong value proposition. And another thing that I want to do, I want to thank each one of you. Why? Because last year was a challenging year, but we have managed to succeed in spite of the COVID pandemic. It was a difficult year. I remember that with the first lockdown, we didn't know what was going to happen. Actually, we had a very successful year, thanks to each one of you. We have a lot of things which are about to launch or have just been launched, like the 60 giga cnWave platform, but also the upcoming 20 giga cnWave platform. This will allow Cambium to build and strengthen its footprint in the service provider carrier market. Another thing which is happening, which I think is really exciting, is that the journey from small, medium business to enterprise is continuing. So our Wi-Fi portfolio started with a small, medium business positioning, but is going up into the food chain, as I like to say. And we are gaining market share, both from the low-end vendors and the high-end vendors. This is happening for a variety of reasons. Like, for example, first of all, I would say the product positioning, but then also the software features, the cnMaestro X, which we have just released, and also the Cambium Care support. I will say that our fixed wireless access portfolio is proven last year to be really superior in terms of performances with our competitors. There were a lot of things that happened last year, like traffic increase due to the lockdown and the work from home. And in the next few slides, I will tell you how Cambium has performed during this challenging period. So I want to share something about internet traffic and the application, because I think this information just are really useful to understand why Cambium is performing. So first of all, did you know that roughly 80% of the current internet traffic is actually video traffic, gaming platform, or either social media traffic? All the rest of the internet traffic is only 20%. During the lockdown, YouTube was over 50% of the global traffic, which is remarkable. There was a big boost. Also, Netflix had a very strong traffic increase. They were even forced to reduce the resolution, the quality of their video, to avoid network saturation. It was the year of the video streaming platform. You see here Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Disney. I can bet that each one of you has a subscription for at least one of these platforms. Actually, I have a subscription for 3 platforms. I'm resisting from Hulu, but I think I'm going to go down that way too. So that was really, really a popular year for the video streaming platform. Let's talk about the new normal. Probably you recognize yourself into this picture. This is the new normal. In your house, in your apartment, there are different people, each one connected to the network for different purposes. Somebody is working and using probably either Zoom or Teams for video conferences. Somebody else is watching, I don't know, Amazon Prime or Netflix during the TV, during a chill out session. Somebody else is working out, but even today, when you're working out, you can watch YouTube, you can train using the Peloton app. So there are a lot of different people that are simultaneously using the broadband. So this is why during the first COVID wave back in March, the internet traffic grew 40%. Luckily for us, the increase was spread across the entire day and not at peak time in the evening. So the reality is that broadband consumer networks are facing the biggest change in the telco history. Why? Because internet traffic used to be distributed among enterprise customers, among schools, and public Wi-Fi networks and residential customers. Now, everything merged into consumer networks. You can see from the table below the picture that the upstream traffic increased significantly during the lockdown. It's not only about the download, is now very important also the upstream, and most of all, I will keep repeating the quality, and most of all, the user experience. I want to share something. As more people are moving from main city to the countryside, there will be a need to strengthen telco infrastructures. This is already happening. And we know, and I hope we all agree on this, that fiber to the home networks have a lot of return of investment challenges when you try to deploy them in rural areas. Reality is that without public funding, the business model is usually unsustainable. On the other hand, the rural areas are indeed the sweet spot for fixed wireless access. And last year, during the pandemic, our WISP managed to perform, managed to scale their networks. They really managed to demonstrate that the fixed wireless access is a successful technology that was able to grow and scale quickly, unlike fiber to the home and other wired connections. And the traffic boost, as I shared earlier, was mainly happening for the exponential growth of video streaming application. What's happening around us? First of all, smart working has changed completely the way we work and interact with other people. Whether you're working, whether you are connected with other people on social media, whether you're watching your favorite movie series, you're always using broadband to connect. That's key. So basically, broadband has become the #1 enabler for everything we do. That's clear. Wireless is the new normal. I don't know about you, but I forgot the last time I plugged a network cable into my PC. Actually, my PC doesn't even have a network port, so it's very simple. I can only use wireless. Cost-effective broadband and high-quality user experience actually match perfectly with Cambium positioning. You may have heard about our objective, which is affordable quality. Another thing which is helping us is that 5G has helped fixed wireless access to become a mainstream technology. COVID-19 and the pandemic will have a lasting impact on Cambium. First of all, fixed wireless access is clearly as a winner. We are facing, and we will see, increased momentum while 5G technology takes root. And another thing which is happening is that the millimeter wave regulations is opening up. So fixed wireless access is going to be stronger. Is already strong, is going to be stronger in the year to come. We have tremendous opportunity thanks also to the digital transformation, which is a powerful business driver, and wireless networks are the enablers of the digital transformation. Let's talk about the new developing communities. They will be served by all sizes and types of service provider. This is not about the strongest brand will get all the customer. Is about the quality, is about the user experience. Whoever can provide that type of quality and that type of user experience will get to the customer. We need to increase our vertical market focus, and there is tremendous need in healthcare, in education, in retail, in municipality. And there is not a single week where we don't have other large opportunity around Europe, a lot in UK, around healthcare, around education. This market is booming. Tier 2, Tier 3 service provider that in the past were not keen to embrace 5 gigahertz or unlicensed spectrum, they are now changing their ideas, and they are keen and willing to adopt next generation fixed wireless access and 5G technologies. Another things that have a lasting impact on Cambium is that the consumer customer has changed. What I mean with this, the need of a residential customer are pretty close to the one of a small medium business, because while you work from home, you need to have security, you need to have more privacy. So the residential customer is having new needs that we, as Cambium and service provider, we can definitely meet. I want to show something which is, I think it was really interesting. When I found it, I thought I wanted to share with you. This picture shows, this report shows what were the performances, downlink performances, before and after login. I found this report, which was mainly for Italy. And it's really interesting because you basically see the whole the service provider, except one, had a big drop during the lockdown. There was only one which basically didn't have any performance degradation. It was Euro, which is actually a Cambium customer, is probably one of the largest fixed wireless access service provider in the world. As you can see, all the other service provider, they had a pretty significant performance degradation. I want to give just a snapshot of the technology that we have today and the one that we're going to develop in the near future. Into this graph, you can see on the horizontal axis, the subscriber density and the distance, and on the vertical axis, you can see the megabits, the subscriber bandwidth. What we can do today is that with 60 gigahertz, we can provide a solution which can provide up to 1 gigabit per customer in short distances for high dense urban area. And this is based on 802.11ay technology. Actually, the aggregate sector capacity, it can go up to 15 gigabits, and we can provide services to up to 30 subscribers. So this is a tremendous new market, which is able to address residential and enterprise connectivity in a high-density urban area. But also, this technology can be used to provide the CCTV backup for municipalities and private networks, and also Wi-Fi backup. If you want to have a technology for longer distance, then we will release in Q3 the new generation of cnWave that will cover from 26 to 28 gigahertz. It's going to be based on the 5G NR air interface, and we will be able to provide up to 400 megabit per subscriber. In this case, we're going to be able to plan around 5 kilometer sector distance, which basically position this platform into more residential enterprise connectivity in urban area or rural area with the mid density. And then we go to our traditional core business, which is basically the solution that are currently available, like the PMP for 50 ham, or actually Medusa, as we like to call it, and ePMP 3000, which are solutions that are able to provide up to 100 megabits per subscriber, up to 10 kilometer range. And we are already working on the next generation technologies for both the ePMP 3000 that will go to X, and for PMP for 50M. So Cambium is able to provide today and in the near future an array of solutions that fit basically every need, whether it is distance, capacity, or subscriber density. So I think this is really exciting, and most of all, you can manage all the Cambium products with a single pane of glass through CM Maestro. So this is our wireless fabric. This is actually a snapshot of our wireless fabric. My colleagues will go more in details into the solution in the following presentation. I really think we are in the right place at the right time. Why? Because UK, first of all, is the second country in the world to have released 6 gigahertz spectrum for Wi-Fi. So there is additional spectrum that will be used for Wi-Fi indoor. It is helped tremendously to build more capacity into our Wi-Fi networks. Another thing which I think is really positive is that this is the year of the Wi-Fi 6 migration. The Wi-Fi 6 migration is growing. 2021 is a year where many networks, most of the networks, will migrate to Wi-Fi 6. We are also at the right time in UK because there is already the 60 gigahertz regulation. It's already in place, unlike, unfortunately, many other countries in the EU. So there is a brand new market with a brand new technology, which is cost effective and can provide the gigabit capacity. We keep having ongoing network traffic increase, and as I said earlier, this really helps when you have technology who are recognized the market to provide superior performances. Quality is key. So it is key for video streaming and collaboration platform. And the Cambium is able to provide quality, most of all, affordable quality. This is our key and strong positioning. I want to conclude with some key messages. So first of all, I strongly invite each one of you, don't miss the enterprise Wi-Fi opportunity. I repeat it, don't miss the enterprise Wi-Fi opportunity. Do you know that roughly 1/3 of the Wi-Fi sales in Europe are driven by WISP and service provider? wireless broadband connectivity enables enterprise solutions. A lot of our customers, a lot of you, are becoming managed service provider, are providing enterprise-centric applications. This is very important. It's not only about residential connectivity. There is a lot more to do with enterprise connectivity. And as I said earlier, a residential customer has different needs compared to the pre-pandemic era, and now his needs are closer to the one of a small medium business. And last but not least, 60 gigas flexible and cost-effective deployment opens a brand new market. I will say to each one of you, embrace the challenge. This was my last slide, Brian, so I hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Alessio. Well, what a cracking start. I found myself making notes of all those statistics. It's just remarkable, isn't it, what's happened to the network? And I guess we've been very fortunate that that load has been spread sort of through the day, but it's certainly an exciting time for fixed wireless. I've actually got a question here that's come into you, which I think you've more or less explained already, but the question is, why should service providers start working with Cambium?
That's a good question, Brian. I think there are a lot of reasons. And I guess I cannot speak for 20 minutes, so I will try to keep it short, okay? So the reason why a service provider should start working with Cambium is really because of our product positioning and affordable quality, is because we can provide an array of solutions which fit every deployment scenario. So we don't have a single product platform that we try to fit into every single need. We have a portfolio, which is actually a wireless fabric portfolio, and we can help customers end-to-end, from the switching to the Wi-Fi, to the backhaul, to the fixed wireless access. And we have a very powerful management system, cnMaestro. We just released cnMaestro X, which is really a powerful tool which can help customer to really exploit the best performances out of our portfolio. And last but not least, we have a stronger network of distributors. We provide the pre-sale support, so we will support you very closely into your network deployment and help you to be successful.
Okay, I do have another question for you, but just before I ask you that, can I just remind the audience that you're very welcome to add comments, send questions into the chat area, because I'm sure you've all been fascinated like I have, but make sure you take advantage of that facility. The other question, which again you did briefly touch on, Alessio, is about, can fixed wireless really compete with fiber?
Brian, I think that the question is a little misleading, I would say. Why? Because I think that, yes, fixed wireless access can compete with fiber, but actually, I think that it can be really complementary. We have a lot of service providers that have been deploying fiber optic for the last few years. They want to use fixed wireless access, like specifically in this case, 60 gigas, for the last 100, 300 meters. So I would like to stop saying that there is either fixed wireless access or fiber. The two technologies can actually complement each other, and they can get stronger thanks to this. So I think that this is really the case. So we can provide a fiber-like performances, as I said, 1 gigabit, 400 meg in rural area, in places where fiber to the home cannot be deployed. But even if can be deployed, actually, we will still need some backhaul capacity somewhere in our network. So I think they can really match perfectly.
Okay, well, Alessio, thank you. That was a tremendous start to the morning. Thank you so much for giving that presentation to us.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody.
Okay, so I'm now going to be joined by Mark Wilson, who I'm very pleased to see is still on the agenda. I'll explain why in a moment. I think we're going to have Mark join me on screen in a second. Here he is. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Brian. Good morning.
Nice to see you. My concern was returning to football was the thrashing that your team Liverpool gave West Ham recently. I thought Dan might scrub you off the agenda after that.
He's not spoke to me since.
Okay, and I understand you're a very keen cyclist, but I guess the weather, you haven't been out much lately.
No, it's a little too cold for that at the moment.
And dangerous. I saw my paper delivery boy go over head over heels on his bike the other morning, trying to deliver the papers. So yeah, it's a bit dodgy at the moment in England, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Mark, you're going to be talking about solutions that are powering service provider networks. To keeping to time, I'm going to be quiet and again say once again, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Brian. Hi all. I'm going to spend this next session with you to introduce or briefly refresh you on Cambium Networks portfolio without going into too much detail. Effectively, I'll just cover the solutions powering our service providers networks today. So to start, let's start with software and applications. Cambium Networks has a number of applications useful to service providers, starting with cnMaestro. cnMaestro, for those who aren't familiar, is a management platform that can manage the majority of the Cambium Networks portfolio in a single pane of glass. So you can manage backhaul, point-to-point, point-to-multipoint, and the majority of the enterprise portfolio with the exception of the Xeris X-Series access points. And this is available in two flavors: cnMaestro Essentials, which is a freemium offering with great dashboard insights into the network and guest access functionality. And Cambium Networks has recently just announced cnMaestro X, which builds on the free version with enhanced features and longer data retention. I've just mentioned the X series. So XMS and EasyPass. In 2019, Cambium Networks acquired the Xeris product portfolio from Riverbed Technology. And part of the acquisition included the management platform, which is XMS. XMS can be used for our X series enterprise access points, switches, and our Wi-Fi 6 access points. XMS comes packed with features and reporting tools, including but not limited to application control and visibility, allowing you to manage and control over 2,000 different applications. And XMS also has a bunch of guest access portals, included federated identity. So using Microsoft or Google, so Microsoft Azure or Google, basically you can click an SSID, and rather than being prompted to put in your pre-shared key or seeing a guest network pop up, you'll actually see your Google or Microsoft login page. And unless you're part of that domain, you won't gain access. But if you are part of that domain, not only do you gain access to the network, you'll also sign on to your Google or Azure account and your applications. Another management platform we've got is cnSwift. This is for the small enterprise deployments. Cambium Networks Swift gives you cloud-based management of your enterprise networks right from your phone. So you can configure your network in a few taps and get the most relevant statistics at your fingertips. Moving on to the planning tools. One of my favorite planning tools is Link Planner. This is a fantastic tool for our service providers, allowing you to design the point-to-point links or your point-to-multipoint links. And you can actually see if the design is theoretically possible and what the expected performance is. And once you've done your design, you can actually print off or send an installation report to actually help with the installation. cnHeat, another great tool built upon Cambium Networks' expertise in fixed wireless radio planning, using propagation and modeling as seen in Link Planner and integrated with GIS data down to 1 meter precision. cnHeat generates highly accurate RF predictions and derivative services that accurately represent the reality of the RF world. cnHeat features 4 capabilities: locate, identify, optimize, and LiDAR, allowing you to predict coverage for pre-qualification, identify buildings to be targeted for marketing, and allow a service provider to optimally place a greenfield site to cover the desired subscribers. Wi-Fi Designer on the enterprise side of things. is a free-to-use cloud-based tool. It's used to show a rough desktop prediction of an enterprise wireless coverage. It's free to use, and it can help with the initial conversations for managed service providers when talking to a prospect, and it can also help generate a bill of materials. cnArcher, it's not a design tool, but cnArcher is a free mobile app that gives the field technicians the information they need to configure and properly align the Cambium networks, point-to-multipoint, and EPMP wireless broadband subscriber modules. So to complement the applications and software, or to allow the applications to perform the function required, we have to have some hardware. Cambium Networks has a large portfolio for the service providers for both backhaul and enterprise. Looking at the point-to-point product line, Cambium Networks offers licensed microwave products on the P2P 820, 850 range, starting at 6 GHz up to 86 GHz, with options for full outdoor units to split mount offerings, with link speeds of 596 megabits per second up to 10 gigabits per second. In the sub 6 GHz point-to-point space, we have the P2P 670 operating in the 5 GHz band, but using a proprietary radio offering speeds up to 450 megabits per second. And more recently, just announced but not shown, is the EPMP Force 400 series, offering point-to-point links using 802.11ax technology, offering up to 1 gigabits per second throughput. Moving on into the point-to-multipoint space, we have an LTE offering. However, I don't think the CN Ranger product would be much use in our region due to the frequency used, and effectively that frequency being pretty much taken up by the MNOs. But we do have products in the 3 GHz and 5 GHz space. The PMP 450 range in the 3 and 5 GHz, looking at the 5 GHz is our flagship product, being the 14 by 14 massive multi-user miner, offering up to 7 concurrent 2 by 2 connections, supporting up to 238 subscribers. The 3 GHz variation of this is an 8 by 8. We also offer the same technology in a smaller unit, the 450i, which comes with an integrated or a connectorized antenna, so you can choose the different antenna types you wish. The Wi-Fi based point-to-multipoint portfolio is the EPMP range, offering the right sized access point with different antenna types from omni to sector and even a dual horn antenna. Also, some of the APs and subscribers have the ability to use the twist port antenna for those providers who like to use horns. Finally, in the point-to-multipoint technology is something I'm really excited about, but I'm not going to talk to you about it because I know later on Anthony's going to be taking you through Cambium Networks 60 GHz 802.11ay telegraph-based product. Moving on to our Wi-Fi portfolio for our enterprise service providers. Currently, we have 3 offerings. The X series access points from the Xeris acquisition, offering 2 to 4 radio devices with software definable radios, allowing you to change the 2.4 radio to 5 GHz. The ability to configure application control to monitor, manage, block over 2,000 different applications. And like the rest of the portfolio, it is a distributed solution. It's what we like to call the intelligent edge. We don't have a single point of failure. The E-Series access point, or the CM Pilot APs, is our economically priced access points that can be managed in CM Maestro. It has a wide selection of outdoor units and indoor units, from a hospitality wall plate access point up to a 4x4 822.11ac or Wi-Fi 5 access point. Our flagship enterprise APs in this is our new Wi-Fi 6 access points, the XV series. These can be managed on either CM Maestro or on XMS. Currently, we have 2 flavors: a value-based 2x2 and a powerhouse 5 gigahertz, 8x8 5 gigahertz, and a 4x4 2.4 gigahertz product, which is the XV3. And what's special about the XV3 is that 8x8 5 gigahertz radio can actually be deployed as 2 4x4 radios. So at a couple of clicks of a button, you can actually deploy the XV3 as a 3 client serving access point with 2 5 gigahertz radios and 1 2.4 gigahertz radio. An AP not shown for our WISP community is an AP not shown, but for our WISP community is the R series access point. It's a home-based router, which is able to be managed and configured using cnMaestro. Next up in our technologies and products is the industrial IoT. This is useful for small data, approximately 10 to 70 kilobits per second, and over very long distances, up to 70 miles. In Etsy, it's licensed. I don't know if any service providers are using this, but it's worth knowing if anyone wants to, I don't know, flip a switch or to monitor anything in particular. Switches, our switch range, the CM Matrix range currently we have two ranges of switches. We have the EX1K switch and the EX2K switch. These are edge-based switches with offerings of 10 to 52 ports with different specifications, but the common feature on these switches is PBA, policy-based automation. Policy-based automation allows you to configure a policy rather than having to configure the ports individually. So you can configure a policy based on LLDP, MAC address, MAC OUI within the management platform, and that's in cnMaestro or XMS. And you can actually send the switch out to your customer and just tell the customer to actually plug in whatever network cable they want into the port without having to worry about what cable they're plugging into what port. What will happen is the switch will identify the device that's been plugged in, match it to the policy, and configure the port accordingly. And then if that cable is ever unplugged from the switch will actually perform a cleanup of that port and default its configuration on that port. A switch product that isn't released but shown right at the very bottom is actually our TX range of switches. This range of switches is due out very soon, so watch your space. But the highlights of it is the power is 82.3 AF, AT, BT, low voltage passive PoE, and high power 4 PPoE. So it should actually power the 450 M5 gigahertz. The TX switch will have dual GPS synchronization sources and a common replaceable power supply. As I said, this switch is soon, will be released soon, so just watch your space for more information. And finally, before I pop you back over to Brian, we've got the CM Vision portfolio, the video surveillance portfolio. This isn't a range of cameras. This is actually to complement or enhance the video surveillance deployments. But it's based on the EPMP 3000 Force 300 range. This product has ONVIF support built in, which allows a service provider to actually check if the camera is operational. You can log in directly onto the access point or onto the subscriber and see the feed from the camera. We also have VMS support, so you can have a CM Vision tile within your VMS system, allowing you to monitor the APs and subscribers, thus reducing truck rolls when trying to diagnose if the backhaul link is faulty or the camera is faulty. What you can do is you can check either the access point, if you can see the camera, or you can check the VMS system to see if you can see the link backed up. If anyone wants any more details on any of the portfolio or a deeper dive, feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mark. You packed a lot in there and certainly enlarged upon what Alessio was saying about the sheer breadth of the portfolio. I've had a couple of questions in for you, actually. The first one is, what distances can you sort of expect using 60 gigahertz cnWave?
As I said during the presentation, I'd love to talk about the cnWave, but I don't really want to steal Anthony's thunder. So if you can hold on for an hour or so, I'm pretty sure Anthony will cover all of that off for you.
All right, then. The other one, I'm going to read this now as it came in. It says, can CN Vision be managed in CN Maestro? And do you have a CN Vision client that can power a camera?
So that's two questions. Okay, so
Yeah.
At the moment, CN Vision can't be managed in CN Maestro. And the second part to the question, do we have a client that can power a camera? In fact, yes. We've recently just released the Client Max RP, which actually has 3 PoE outputs on it. So the answer to that one is yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mark, for your presentation, and I'm sure you'll get more questions and queries as the day goes on.
Thank you, Brian.
Just before I introduce the next speaker, can I remind you all about the sponsors' sites and also the feedback forms to make yourselves £100 richer by this afternoon? That would be really much appreciated. And remember, you can take part in the chat, send questions, give us some feedback on that as well. Okay, so I'm now going to introduce Steve Layton, who's going to be joining me on the screen. Here he is.
Morning,
Steve,
Brian.
good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. From a very chilly London.
Yes, I think it's chilly everywhere in the UK this morning. At least we're not snowed in, so that's not too bad. And for once, the southeast caught a packet, didn't it?
Yeah, we had -7 overnight, apparently. Ooh, there we go.
Crikey.
Not that I was out in that, but there we are.
Just before we go on to your presentation, obviously we had a bit of a football theme this morning, but I discovered that you're a Chelsea fan of some 40 years standing. You've even got a dog called Ozzy. So well, perhaps you could explain why that is.
Well, the Aussie thing is a long time ago. I've actually had a season ticket for 40 years at Chelsea, but I've been going to the ground for over 50 years. So back in the old days, you didn't need a season ticket to get in, of course. You could just stand on the terraces and take your chances. But yeah, Ozzy was my very first pet and was a dog named after Peter Osgood, who was a Chelsea legend and centre forward in the 60s and 70s. And he was named Ozzy for short, so there was no option but to call the dog Ozzy. And the funny story is the dog was actually a female, but we still called it Ozzy anyway, so there we are.
Right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm old enough to remember that era myself, actually. So
course, yeah.
It was nice talking to you about that. Now, when you're not following Chelsea, you're the CEO of Veneus. I think I've said that correctly. But today you're going to be talking in your capacity of UK WISPer. Now, I would think many people on this call today are members, and I'm sure you'd say if they aren't, they should be. It's an incredibly important body, so I'm going to hand over to you to tell us more about UK WISPer and what it does.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, and thanks for that introduction. You're absolutely right. I am going to be talking a lot about UK WISPer today, but before I do that, and apologies, good morning to everybody on the call. Yes, I am here officially to talk about WISPer and give you a bit of background on what that organisation does, how it does it. I'm going to outline some of our key achievements, demonstrate our influence on both technological and regulatory platforms, and generally show you why you should be a member if you're not already, as you rightly said, Brian. Before I do that, however, and before I launch into the formal presentation, which is relatively short, I thought it might be useful to set the scene a little in respect of wireless generally, and the crucial role it has played, is currently playing, and will continue to play in the UK's, and dare I say it, the global connectivity landscape. From a UK perspective, we need look no further really than the noises coming out of our own government to understand the importance of wireless now. 2 or 3 years ago, the government here was focused completely on fibre. There were headline-grabbing announcements made that essentially suggested that full fibre UK was not just a possibility, but would actually be with us pretty quickly. And they were indeed very bold statements. Now, what you won't know is that before I went to the dark side and started my own business, I had a long and successful career in central government, culminating in the role of Head of Communication Sponsorship and Regulatory Policy at the old Department of Trade and Industry. Now, had I been in that seat when these various statements around full fibre UK were being made, I would have been in a state of complete and utter blind panic, wondering how on earth I was going to use the UK's commercial and regulatory frameworks to get us to that full fibre position. However, things have now changed quite significantly. While there is still a focus on fibre in some quarters, the language from government has changed subtly. Instead of promoting a full fibre UK, we're now talking about a gigabit enabled or a gigabit capable UK. A very slight change in wording representing a huge change in emphasis and approach. By focusing on gigabit connectivity as the endpoint without specifying a delivery mechanism, the government has effectively accepted that wireless technologies have a crucial role to play in getting the UK to nationwide gigabit capable coverage. This opens the door for 5G, fixed wireless access, and other wireless technologies to play their part in that development. As an act of further validation, Ofcom has recently become a member of UK WISPer, giving them the opportunity to engage directly with the UK's wireless service providers and wireless technology companies. My own business, Vineus, builds fixed wireless access and fibre networks in rural and difficult to reach environments. Each one of those builds is different and each solution that we deploy is different. What remains consistent, however, is the fact that my customers don't care what the service is or where it comes from. They simply want affordable, accessible, reliable, fast connectivity. So as I said, things have changed. I'll now run through the presentation. I'm not going to read every word off every slide because that will bore me and no doubt bore the audience. But on this first slide here, as it clearly shows, UK WISPer is the officially recognised trade association for the UK's fixed wireless access industry. Our membership now stands at well over 100 companies who collectively go past well over 2 million homes and businesses in the UK. That's getting on for 10% of the total. We're a not-for-profit organisation with the activities and events that we organise sponsored by a combination of members and technology vendors. As a relatively new player in the market, Vineus has been active in FWA deployments for about 3.5 years now. I'm pleasantly surprised, however, now that I'm involved with WISPer, and we've been a member from day one, and as you mentioned, I'm now on the board. I'm really surprised by the community feel that exists within the fixed wireless access sector in the UK. UK WISPer promotes that community ethos and coordinates members' views sensibly and professionally to ensure that we do act as a single strong community with one voice. And of course, by doing that, that strengthens our ability to influence. And alongside that, as it says on this slide, we offer a range of services to members. So what have we achieved? What are UK WISPer's key achievements? There are a lot of words on this slide, and I'm not going to bore you all by simply reading them out. You can visit my stand and dig into the detail at your leisure, and by all means fire some questions at me if you want to know some of the detail. But I think the key message from this impressive list are that we have influence on both technological and regulatory platforms, and we have that influence because we act as a collective, pushing the consistent interests of all members when it's relevant for us as an organisation to do so. In terms of generating that community spirit and that collective approach as an organisation, as you would expect, we communicate regularly. We hold regular members' meetings, which give us a great platform for debate, for idea generation, for networking, for industry development sharing, and so on and so on. And these regular all-member meetings are supplemented by a series of focused at-home sessions where we create platforms to discuss specific technological or regulatory developments and issues. All of these events, as it says here, are incredibly well attended with a range of numbers from 50 to over 100 in attendance. And we've also created a really professional video library with some of our partners and members. This is an incredibly useful resource aimed at all levels of understanding of wireless networks and wireless technologies, but again, consistently designed and produced to promote wireless services and technologies and to reaffirm the role they play in the delivery of super fast and ultra fast connectivity across the UK. There is actually a sample video on my virtual stand, So please do drop in and have a look. It'll be a couple of minutes of your life well spent, I can guarantee that. So that really concludes my presentation. I'd like to hand back to Brian now for any questions, and I'd like to thank you all for listening to me.
Thanks very much, Steve. Yeah, I know from personal experience what a great job you guys do, and I've been very privileged to take part in some of those video case studies, which actually made me realize some of the challenges, particularly in the really remote kind of areas. In your introduction, and thank you for that, you talked about this changing focus from the government end, which also is very encouraging. We have had a question about, why is the future seen as fiber? Why is wireless important? Can you add anything from what you said originally?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. I mean, the UK is not a square slab of concrete that's easy to fiber up. It's a complex geographical location with challenging environments and challenging topography in a number of areas, and it's not all suitable for fiber. And when you can't get fiber to a location, I'm a great believer that wireless is a bit like water. It always finds a way through, and it will always find a way in. So it clearly has an important role to play to ensure that everyone in the UK gets the connectivity that they now need, a situation exacerbated, of course, by the current pandemic, where we're being forced to work, learn, play, educate, and do everything else from home.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy there with the water. What about the speed aspect, though? I mean, can wireless really compete with fiber speed-wise?
It absolutely can. And, Vineas builds fiber networks, and we build fixed wireless access networks. And in fact, 90% of our customers are on fixed wireless access networks. And we're in the process now of trialing some gigabit wireless connectivity. So those gigabit speeds are now perfectly capable of being achieved through a non-fiber installation and deployment.
Okay, well, look, Steve, thank you. One thing I should also do on behalf of Cambium is thank you for your sponsorship today, because without sponsorship like this, events like this couldn't take place. So for now, thank you for that. And I'm sure you'll get lots of questions to your mini site for the event today.
It's been a pleasure, Brian. Thanks again.
Okay. So now we have with us another sponsor. We have John O'Hare of Azatel, who I think is going to join me momentarily. Here he is. Hi, John.
Hello, Brian. Good morning. Thank you.
So I'll get my thanks in for the sponsorship first this time. It makes a big difference, and thank you for your support today. I was interested. I did a bit of research before the thing today, and I saw this picture of you on your boat off the coast of Ireland there. I was wondering if it was your way of getting away from COVID.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen very often, but we look forward to getting back out there again one of these years, So
absolutely.
But yes,
absolutely.
Now and again, I'm spotted out there.
Great. Okay, well, look, thanks for talking to us. Now, you're going to be talking about simplifying WISP operations, which is obviously something really, really important out there at the moment. So I'm going to hand over to you and look forward to hearing all about it.
Very good, Brian. Thank you again for the introduction. And thanks to Dan and Cambium for the opportunity to present this today, folks. So I do have a large number of slides to go through, but we will go through them quickly. And also, if there are any questions, please put them into the chat as we go through that, and I'm sure Brian will pick up on them at the end. So, folks, I just wanted to start off by giving a little bit of background. I guess my claim to fame in this world is bringing the first canopy radio into Europe back in 2003, I believe. I know that because we had to go through the certification process. So with that, we set up a WISP here in Cork, in Ireland, between 2002 and 2005. And I guess one of the things that we learned while rolling out that network is, whether you have 100 customers or tens of thousands of customers, it's very important to be able to manage and to automate, I guess, all the operations around the running of that ISP business. So that really is the focus of what we call the simpler platform. So today, what happened in 2005 is we actually sold off the WISP business to concentrate on the software platform that is simpler. Actually, between 2005 and 2008, we then rolled out a franchise model here in Ireland, and that has been very successful in bringing broadband to all rural parts. And in 2008, we then, with the help of Motorola at the time, went into Nova Scotia and Canada. And from there, we started, I suppose, rolling out the network. Today, we are in 22 countries. We have over 250 networks on the platform. And the size of those networks go from anywhere from 50 subscribers to tens of thousands of subscribers. So really, it's really about automation, and through that automation and efficiency, making those operations viable, and therefore bringing broadband into rural areas. So if I may just dig into simpler, the focus is, as I say, subscriber information management platform. So that's what our whole world revolves around, the end customer. So what it is the single platform to essentially address all the business functions. What that means in reality is, whether it's on the sales cycle or the provisioning, the accounting, no data gets entered twice across the business. So you put it into the system once, and it's there for every other department to see it. The other piece is, this platform itself has been built based on the feedback from our operators. And I say they're spread across 22 countries. So with that, we get a whole variety of great ideas. And all of those have been incorporated into the software platform over the last 20 years. Final point is, we spoke today about, I suppose, a lot about wireless and about fiber, but in essence, the platform itself is access technology agnostic. So we've gone through the phases. If anybody remembers DSL, remember that when it was going to wipe out wireless many years ago. Well, that didn't happen. But obviously, we went through WiMAX, LTE, cable, all the various technologies. It's very easy for us to bring those into the platform because, again, it's built around this concept of the subscriber being the central entity. In terms of our deployments, we have concentrated on EMEA and going westwards to the US and North American market. So the reason why we focus, I guess, on these areas are we were able to deliver a premium, service around support and training to our operators. So the software, that's one piece of the puzzle, I guess. But the second part is actually being able to deliver a very good support and training around those deployments. So that's absolutely critical to the efficient running of all of our partners and operators, because ultimately their businesses depend on the operation of Simpler in its entirety. So what does the platform do, you might ask? Well, on this slide are, again, all the areas that you probably touch on, whether you realize it or not. So it's CRM, help desk, network monitoring, inventory management, provisioning, so on and so forth. So what we find is new operators that come to us, which basically will have been operating, over a number of years. Typically, they will have several hundred or thousands of customers. But what we find is a disparate set of systems that are in place to manage all of these functions. And with Simpler, the objective is to bring all that, as I say, under the one roof. So what we will do now here is we'll just go through each of these areas very quickly to give you a sense of it. And as I said, if you want to dig in more afterwards, we do have the stand available as well if people want to pop by that later. So from a CRM point of view, very simply, what we want to do is get all the information about your end customer onto a single web page. So we don't tab it. All the information is easily searched from the browser, and access to that information is controlled through the user rights. So depending on whoever is logging in, they will either see the information or not, based on those priorities that they have. So if I'm an installer, I don't necessarily need to see all the accounting information, so that can be hidden. That makes it then more easy to find information as well, based on whoever is logging into the system. But the key thing here is that everything about the subscriber is available on a single page. Other aspects is, if you want to add your own fields, that's possible to do through custom fields and tables. Billing and provisioning, billing and the payment process itself. So essentially, operators can design their own invoices to their own look and feel. The whole mechanism in terms of sending those out automatically, or building in checks into the process, all of that is achieved through the platform configuration. The other side of it then is actually collecting the money, the most important part, right? So the key thing there is we have in excess of 35 different merchant gateways built into the platform already. So regardless of what payment method you want to use, and believe me, there are many disparate systems that are used throughout the world, we have the ability to deal with that. And the key thing really is to focus on automating the invoicing cycle and the collection of those monies. Next up is a feature that we call SAND, and it is the subscriber auto notify throttling and disconnect. And folks, this I guess is the the most important aspect really of the presentation, I would say. So regardless of what systems you have in place, the ability to be able to automatically turn on, turn off, and control what service is being delivered to your customer is absolutely critical to your business, and to be able to charge accordingly for that. And that is the secret ingredient of Simpler. So the idea here is you can set up again the parameters that how you choose, whether it's prepay, postpay, whether you want to give 2 weeks of grace period, all of that can be configured. And then the system will notify a customer that has not paid as they approach the due date in advance using SMS or emails. So for example, somebody might get an email today, say, please pay by next Sunday. And if they haven't paid by next Sunday, on Saturday, they'll get another reminder. Then on Monday morning, they would get disconnected. And basically, when they then try to reconnect to the network, they will get redirected to the end user portal. End user portal allows them to put in their payment details and get back online. And all of that is a seamless operation. Bandwidth management. So again, over time, we have different approaches to how that is done. Some is done through inline control device that we call a WIB, through Radius, through APIs, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Dispatch, install, and provisioning. Again, the process here is around scheduling, work orders, app, and then provisioning the equipment itself. So we will work with cnMaestro in terms of interfacing with it so that we can basically avail of all the automation that it brings, and then builds Simpler on top of that. But we also work with a number of the other vendors, as is obviously the case that a number of our operators will be on different platforms. In terms of scheduling, we work with a Google Calendar. Again, it's ubiquitous. And what we do there is basically synchronize the information between Simpler and Google, so that no one, again, needs to be manually replicating that data. Network monitoring. As part of the installation process, we will be collecting information about the radios as they're installed. That allows us to build a very simple but effective network monitoring tool, and also to be able to collect stats and present those back to the CSRs or through the end user portal to the customers themselves. So all of that comes as part of the platform. End user portal, I mentioned that earlier in relation to the payment cycle, but this is your customers portal where they can go to view their history of invoices, view their usage, and change certain parameters as well associated with their account. So again, it's the whole idea here, folks, is to automate and to try and push as much as the administration as possible back onto your customer base. They prefer it because they have instant access to it through the portal, and it also means that there's much less calls coming into the operator's business itself. Maps and coverage checking. Again, a key part of what we do is track all locations. There are states associated with each customer account. So for example, those that fail line of sight survey, for example, there's a state associated with that. Over time, this graph becomes very powerful in terms of being able to decide where to roll out, to address black spots in the coverage, etc. Also, we do have inbuilt, again, analysis tools that allows for a quick kind of scan once queries come in as to whether a customer is able to get service or not. But again, this is complementing Link Planner and the other tools that Cambium have, which are a lot more in-depth. Inventory management, mentioned that we track the install process itself or whatever, so we do have knowledge of the equipment being installed at ESM. We're able to keep key criteria around that, and then basically have all that stored in the database. We are able to track history of the device as if it's reinstalled in a new location. We have all that. We have the ability to track RMAs as well through the platform. Flexible reporting. So the system is built on CentOS. Database is PostgreSQL. all our operators have full read access to the database. So if there is any report that they need that is not already provided by the platform, they have the ability to build tools to extract that data directly from the database, should that be required. It's the exception rather than the norm, though. Hotspots, again, because we have all of the rest of the operations in the platform, we also have the ability to assist with the rollout of hotspots. Many of our operators will deploy these as part of requests that they get from the local councils or whatever. So it's something that's in addition to the core business of a fixed wireless provision. So we have the ability to work around that. So we've worked on a number of projects as well in the likes of South Africa for bringing broadband to the underprivileged areas. So this slide, folks, and hopefully you will get access to all this information afterwards, is just a summary of the key areas that we walked through. Hope that makes sense so far. So the key thing to remember is, I suppose, there's no rocket science in anything that I have shown up to this point, but it's the bringing it all together that really is the secret, ingredient that makes businesses very efficient who are running the simpler platform. The idea as well that what we are doing is basically bringing all the ideas, building them into the platform, so you as an operator don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, many of the operators that we deal with are below 10,000 subscribers, so it really makes no sense for them to be going off and reinventing the wheel when you get out of the box here all the tools to make that business run really efficiently. Here is just a screenshot of the mobile app. So the mobile app allows, for example, the scanning of a barcode from one of the routers when it's being installed, and that then automatically provisions and associated it with the customer account in Simpler. Obviously, because of the integration with Google Maps, we are able to bring in the scheduling piece. Also, the app itself is a scaled down view for the installers to pull up the key information about an install, as well as the work orders. Other features include the ability to take photographs on site, and they automatically get tagged underneath the subscriber record in Simpler. So I guess the key thing here, in summary again, is to say that there are many advantages to running the platform if you do not have one of these already in place. But other side benefits are investor attraction. So I mentioned, when we started out in Canada, that was the first probably government-backed project that we were involved in, but we've done many, many more since then with our operators. So any investor, be it government, leasing, banks, private investors, once they see that there's a platform like Simpler in place that is running the business, it gives them a high degree of confidence in that operator's business to invest in it. The other side of that is, the exit side. So if in any of our operators, we have the ability to do a due diligence on that complete business within about 15 minutes, I would say. If we have all the stats in terms of any issues on the network, obviously subscriber growth, revenue growth, where the subscribers are based, network health, all of that is readily available through the reports in Simpler. So that's absolutely extremely powerful when it comes to valuing or transferring the business, So we're involved with that on a daily basis amongst our operators. And also, the other key aspect is if our operators are growing, again, what we are often involved with is the importation of that data into Simpler. And it's the equivalent of a new operator coming to us. So again, we're highly, I suppose, experienced in bringing that information into the platform and getting everything automated. Now I'll just touch on a few different types of networks that typically we come across. So the first up is very simple, network topology. So it's got a device in line that does the control. Then you have backhaul, access point, and radio. So with those 4 building blocks, you can build a very simple but effective network up to 2,000 subscribers, I would say. And we've seen that done, throughout Africa in many countries. Next up is radius. Radius is the standard really used by the majority of operators. And we can instantly slot into radius controlled network. So here, basically radius acts as the delimiter between Simpler and the network. So again, as I say, if you have a radius control network, then it makes migration to the Simpler platform much easier. Also done integration with different vendors on the LTE side. Just flicking through a couple of those. And next up is fiber. We've heard mentions of that already. And obviously here in Ireland, we would be familiar as well with the NBI project. We actually have put the first customers from NBI onto the platform last week, believe it or not. So they are now integrated into Simpler. We also work with a number of other fiber networks, particularly in the US, in Spain, where again the automation is fully there to turn on, turn off, and control whatever service the customers are getting through those fiber networks. In my own view, it's really the combination of fiber and wireless is the answer to bringing broadband to the rural areas. That's what we see time and time again as being the most effective strategy to roll out broadband of high quality and high bandwidth capability. So with that, I guess from the Simpler perspective, because we're able to work with all those access technologies, not alone does the single pane of glass extend just across the wireless portfolio of the network, but really Simpler is the single pane of glass that spans across all different aspects of the operator's business, be it wireless, LTE, fiber, all that comes back so that the CSRs really that are looking at the the information is the single set of information that they see, and the fact that it's delivered through a different access technology that really is pushed down in terms of if you need to dig into it, it's available to be popped on from the Simpler platform itself. But Simpler is the key that links all of the different access technologies together and is the platform on which the business runs ultimately. This is just a workflow for new operators setting up. Majority of operators, as I said earlier, will be existing operations with existing customer bases, and we have lots of skills developed over time that allows us to bring that information efficiently into the Simpler platform. So our own vision, I guess, is we do have competitors out there in different markets, but from where we started here in Ireland, I guess, and how the company has evolved, we probably are the one that is most diverse in terms of serving so many different countries and bringing those requirements truly into the platform. So it really is a feature-rich set of functions that are available to our operators, which makes it really the global BOSS standard for the wireless broadband industry, as I would see it. Examples of other operators in the US, we're working with a number of the electrical cooperative utilities there at the moment, who again are bringing their members broadband through both fiber and wireless technology. So we're highly active in that market at the moment. And this is a set of just logos from different partners and companies that we work with. And with that, Brian, that is the slide. So again, thank you folks for that quick run through. Sorry if I went through that too quickly or whatever, but as I say, if there are any questions, Brian, maybe you have those now, or we can talk about them again during the trade show slot later.
Yeah, John, I was just really interested in the sheer international scope of what you've managed to grow and achieve. It's awe-inspiring, really interesting. Had I got a cheesy comment about shouldn't your slogan be making life simpler? Because that seems to be what you do for operators, but that's far too cheesy, yes. I guess.
Yeah, no, we take anything, so you might see that changing. but it's true. I mean, that is ultimately what our objective is.
With all that experience, what's kind of the best advice that you would give a service provider today? Yeah, very good question. To be honest, one of the things that we did back in the early days was we were choosing different vendors to go with when we started rolling out the franchise model here in Ireland. So I remember talking to a number of them, and I used to work in Motorola previously, so I was biased. So we actually chose the Canopy platform. And I know Motorola has evolved into Cambium networks, but it's just important to say, we've worked with many different technologies. We've seen them come and go over the last 20 years, different vendors, and so on and so forth. We've heard many folks regret that they hadn't moved on to Canopy or Cambium networks earlier, particularly with EP&P. So that's a regret that I often hear from the operators, those that had tried out different technologies and got stuck with them and got delayed. And when they moved across to using Cambium, it's a night and day experience for them. I've never heard one of my earlier operators come to us
to say that they regret getting onto this platform. So that's one piece of advice I would give generally, and that's genuine. Second piece of advice is in relation to how the business is run. So the key thing that we do with Simpler, and you can achieve it with or without the platform, is the ability to link the billing with the provisioning piece. That one-to-one linkage is absolutely critical. And it amazes us every time we see an operator coming to us that don't have that linkage in place. So what that means is, the bigger operators call it revenue assurance, but in reality, what it means is if you've got more than 100 customers and you don't have a linkage between the billing system and your provisioning system, you're going to have customers that are not getting the service that they're paying for. So they're either getting more than what they're paying, or they're not getting it at all, or you're missing collecting from those customers. You scale that up to 1,000, scale that up to 5,000. That is a significant loss of revenue that one is just wasting away or whatever. Putting a system in place that gives the customer what they're paying for, your customer actually likes that or whatever. I mean, the customers appreciate it. So that would be the other key bit of advice that I would give operators. So number one, go with Cambium networks. Number two, make sure you've got linkage in place between your billing systems and your provisioning in terms of turning on, turning off, and controlling what service the customers are getting.
The other question I had was actually, what's the most common mistake they make? I guess is it not having Cambium equipment by the sounds of it?
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Another classic one is people with virtualization, and a lot of folks think that once you put a server onto a virtualized environment, that it basically magically does things that nothing happen that wouldn't happen on a running bare metal. So we've seen operators, on radius-based networks, it's critical that the radius servers are up all the time. So that's why there is a primary and a standby radius. But we have seen more than once where the primary and the standby radius server are put onto the one virtualized environment with the one common hardware underneath them. Common hardware fails and both radius servers goes down. So that's something that you also want to avoid.
Okay, well, John, thank you very much for your time this morning. Again, thank you for the sponsorship. Can I remind the viewers to take part and visit your mini site? And it's going to be break time in a moment. But for the time being, John, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, folks, for listening, and bye for now.
So we now go to break. Can I just apologize to viewers? I've gone a little bit darker on my screen. This is one of the perils of home working. The post office van has decided to park right outside my window and the sun is shining on the window. So that was the adjustment in my lighting. Anyway, the good news is we've reached break time ahead of schedule. But please, while you're having your coffee and whatever, don't forget the feedback forms and please visit our sponsor sites. We'll be back very soon with a presentation coming all the way from the south of France. Thank you for now. nice. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've had time to grab a quick coffee. I'm now back fully illuminated. The post office van has decided to go elsewhere, thank goodness. And so we're back to the second part of today's event. I'm going to be joined by Jean-Francois Fontaine-Bouillet, who after this I will be able to call JF. And here he is. Hi, JF. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. How are you doing?
We're very good. I've told everyone that we're going to be coming to Nice in the south of France because we've all been talking about -7 degrees here in England. So go on, show us off. What's the weather like?
Well, the weather like this morning is it's 14 degrees already, and we are expecting 16 this afternoon. It's and we have a great sunshine out there. I cannot show you, but you know, you would be amazed.
But I'm advised by my sources that you're going to be keeping a nervous eye out of your window this morning because I understand your son's just passed his motorbike test and you're a bit worried he's going to go off on your Harley Davidson. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, you know, we order him a way smaller motorcycle because I don't want him to jump on mine.
Absolutely. No, I don't blame you. Okay, well, look, I'm sure everyone's got their coffee and their tea right by their sides. You're going to talk about the service provider program. So I'm going to go straight to you and hand the stage to you right now.
Thanks a lot. And thanks everyone for joining this morning. Welcome to my UK, Ireland and Nordic friends. I've been missing you. I've been missing traveling around, and I'm glad, you know, to have those kind of events to catch up from time to time. This morning, I will have 2 sessions. This is the very first. The second will be focusing on financing options. But this one, the service provider program is really close to my heart, and I will explain to you why. I will give you some background, and I will show you what it is about exactly. So let's keep on and look at where we're coming from in terms of focus internally at Cambium. Enterprise was really our first objective, you know, reaching this market, making sure that we were present in every vertical, and we have been building for the Connected Partner Program. Connected Partner Program that you can find under channel.cambiumnetworks.com. where you have all sorts of information by vertical for every kind of product from Cambium, but with this focus around enterprise access networks. We've been designing, you know, verticals that we want to perform in, that we really want you and us to be involved in, and most of them ended with a dedicated program: the education program, hospitality program, Wi-Fi for EU program focus, and cnVision program. So when you look at that, you know, we are missing something. We are missing a key market, a key portion of our revenues, of our business purposes. It's actually, you know, the fixed wireless broadband. And for this particular audience and market, we needed to have a different focus, a new focus similar to the one for enterprise, but with a given platform. So that's why we came up with the idea of implementing a service provider program, ending up with a SP number, same as we have the CP number, which is an ID for every partner doing enterprise business with us. We will have SP number for every WISP, ISP, broadband MSP registering to this platform. The platform will be aimed for all those partners dedicated to provisioning broadband across territories, and all of them will be hosted on the service provider program. I remind, you know, this name because we will be launching this service provider program platform shortly. Actually, we are aiming to have a soft launch by the end of the month for internal people only. But as soon as March, we will be doing the hard launch. So service provider, this is the way forward for us. This is what I will put my attention on this year onward to realize to launch and make available a platform that will be your future central source of content. And this morning we had a few interesting presentation, and I can bet that some of those presentations will end on the platform as a content available afterwards. What was the goal, of implementing this this platform? When you look at all the available content from Cambium on the web, you have multiple websites, multiple blogs, multiple technical support website, channel website, and so forth. We have a lot of content available, but it's not always easy to find its way. So our goal was to make sure that in one single place you can find all the links for every single source of information around Cambium products, Cambium support, Cambium community, and this for service providers only. This is a regional initiative. I don't know if I mentioned it. This is for EMEA service providers only, at least at this stage. The platform will be available in different languages. I will show you that afterwards. And we will be registering every one of you showing up, storing a lot of content on your activity. Why? Because we want to understand who you are, to give you the right attention, to offer you the right product to use, the right support, technical support, sales support, and this is what we will be doing through this platform. And one of our goals, as I said earlier, is thanks to the SP number, the SP ID that you will end with when registering, we will be able, through our distribution channel, to find out about the origin of 100% of our revenues. And that will enable us to track the end customer, to track all the use cases for our products, and that will really change our life and hopefully yours. So this is the way it looks. I won't disclose with you the URL for the website yet because it's not official. It will be in a month from now. But this is what you will be prompted with. So you will be asked to enter an email, a password. If you don't have, well, that will automatically open a registration process. This is the one we were talking about. So where you will be registering beside yourself, your company, with the ability to add your logo, but moreover to state exactly in which vertical you are in, what is your own activity, what is your average ARPU in your country, the one you are uncounting at the moment, but the one you are in that you are also planning to get thanks to our product. Which product are of interest for you, and a few questions. It should take between, let's say, 4 to 5 minutes to register, but from there, we will have a clear idea of who you are and how we can help you with. So let's get started, and this is what you will learn. On the main page, the welcome screen. It's a dashboard. The aim was to make it as nice and intuitive as possible. We have some icons on the left-hand side where you have all the menu lists, some big box where with key messages, key links, quick links for other website, and a rotating banner in the middle. As you could see, there's a profile picture on the right-hand side where you will see your face, the points that you are earning when visiting or sharing the content that is available on this website, social login, and so forth. So let me bring you through. So we have the menu list on the left. It will show you indeed, what's behind the dashboard. So it's also a training section, a technical database section, regulatory status, sales material, playbooks, prospect page, calendar. So the aim is really to give you in one single place all the information that you can think of, dream of, looking for from Cambium. There are some external links that you will be able to click and will open another page. Either it's the corporate website, the technical support website, the corporate blog, the Italian blog. We have a few, but it's also, highlighting pending promotion. What we will do onwards, when the platform will be launched and available officially, we will restrict the access to promotion to WISP ISP broadband MSPs registered on the platform with SP number. And this is really important for us because that will enable us to identify everyone behind an order. So it's also the opportunity to remind, that there's a Bring a Friend program. So if you are already a customer of us, you can, pitch Cambium to competitors, colleagues, pairs of yours, and get some free equipment from us when they order their first kit. But it's also the opportunity to highlight all the tools that we are giving for free on our different platform. So we can refer to cnMaestro, to Link Planner, but all the software and features that we are offering specifically for the service provider market. So beside the links, you will have, as I said, your profile, the points that you are earning when sharing, when visiting, when looking at particular contents, some notification behind the bell, all the social networks activity from Cambium. You will find the Twitter feeds, but you can also connect with Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, from Cambium corporate pages, but I will add some more. And also the translation will be, at least for all the titles, for the content behind the links, in 10 languages. So for the market we're talking about today, English will be fine, but we will also have Chinese, French, German, Italian, Polish, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and Turkish available. So the aim is also for you when you have customers outside of your core territory to bring them to look at the available content on this platform because it will be available in those languages. What's behind the different section I showed you? So trainings. Those are extract actually from our learning management platform. When you go to Cambium e-learning, you will be able to register, take some certification exams and trainings for free. But this is, a kind of teaser of the main trainings you can get on the main videos you can access on the learning management system. So typically here we are seeing CN Archer, EPMP solution, CN Eat, PTP solution, CN Medusa, Link Planner, CN Maestro, Essential, CN Maestro X, and so forth. So every day, and this is my activity at the moment, I'm loading some new content that I think relevant. Typically this morning, when listening to Steve about UK WISPA, I figured that I should definitely add association, national association in one of the section, and I will tell you when. Technical database. I have stored already all the data sheets for every single product family under software or hardware, accessories, EPMP, PTP, PMP, CN Vision, cnWave, enterprise Wi-Fi, switching. So everything is there, either showed behind a picture or just listed and easily retrievable with a search button. Regulatory status, and this is where I will be probably adding the national association. I'm starting to gather all the regulation status, regulation survey that we can find out across EMEA, and this particular example is around 60 gig and cnWave, and who are behind this button, who are the countries that gave already their blessing to implement cnWave 60 gig. So there will be a lot of content. We're starting slowly. In a month from now, there will be much more to see. And of course, when this will be available, I will be expecting feedbacks from all of you, advices, requests, because this will be a live platform that we will change throughout the time. Sales collateral, there will be plenty. My focus will be to give, to store mostly case studies, paper case studies, video case studies. Why? Because this is the best opportunity to highlight, what we do on our own, what we do with you, what you are able to achieve thanks to Cambium Networks equipment. And I will really stress this section with those case studies. I will also, highlight all the activities that we have in terms of sales promotion. So we would find typically the Bring a Friend flyer in there, but also any other promotion. The starter kit, we just launched a new starter kit for service providers joining for the very first time Cambium, and this will be shown and reflected here. Playbooks, it's actually a group of content, and I have stored that by geography using graphics that are aimed to be obvious and straightforward to find content for a given geography. We will have a prospect page. What will be this prospect page about? It's the opportunity for you to load a picture, load a bio, your contact details, your social logins, social accounts, and store some content. Pick up, cherry pick content from the platform and send that to people you are close to. Whether they are people within your organization or outside your organization, you will be able to send communication from the platform with the content available to anyone outside, in your surrounding. It will be any content that is stored on the platform. Some of the content are co-brandable. Actually, what does that mean? You will be opening a content, a PDF, and you will be asked to add your logo, your contact details, and this won't be anymore a Cambium Networks brochure, but your company brochure next to Cambium. So this is the kind of thing that we can help you with in terms of communication sharing. We will have a calendar section showing every single event related to service providers across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And behind every single little box, as you see on the screen, there is the content available typically for 2-day event. We will have the calendar and the link to register. That this is it, because actually, it's just a teaser. My aim was not to show you everything within the platform, but at least what you will be offered to visit shortly. So as I said, we will do the soft launch by the end of February and the hard launch by the end of March. So stay tuned. And please revert to me when you will have feedbacks to share.
Thanks, Jeff. That was really interesting. I do actually have a question that's come in. It's from obviously from one of our partners. It says, we are registered in the Connected Partner Program, but should we also register to the Service Provider Program?
Indeed, yes. Yes, it's a must-have. Why? Because the registration in the Connected Partner Portal, as I said, is mostly enterprise, and we never took the time, nor the step to ask all the activity around the broadband business. And when we ask, what is the ARPU, what is the data rate package that you are usually sell, what are the equipment that you're looking after, the one you're using already, that will help us build our CRM for sure, but find out, who we should turn you to, whether we should let our distributor intervene, we should have our inside sales calling you, or RSMs jumping to your door. So this is really about finding, who are the interlocutors and how we can help them best. So yes, even if you are registered on the CPP, register on the SPP, the Service Provider Program, the one we will be launching.
Okay, Jeff. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess we see us in half an hour roughly.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, now, folks, just before we go to our next speaker, I'm in big trouble. You see these headphones, as well as hearing from you and talking to the speakers, I'm getting lots of messages that we aren't getting enough feedback forms in. So please give yourself a little bit of time to fill those forms in, and then I'll get much nicer messages into my ear. So thank you for that. Okay, so our next speaker, you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to burst into song, but it's his birthday today, and it's David Burns who's going to join me now.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm slightly disappointed that you're not going to sing a happy birthday to me, but
if I tried, you would be horrified. So my wife's always frightened.
Thank you for sparing us.
Yes, when I have my stereo on with the headphones, my wife goes out the house, I think, when I'm singing along. So you've been spared, I can assure you. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, David is living proof that men can multitask, because he's CEO of Boundless. He's the chairman and founder of UK WISPer, and he also runs Wireless Coverage Limited, in which the capacity he's going to speak to today about bringing wisdom to the network. And David, before you start, again, can I thank you as one of the sponsors today, because your contribution helps, as I've said before, make these events possible. So with that, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Brian, and hello, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for sparing us a bit of time. I'm going to have a couple of slides to show you a little bit of background on wisdom, and I'm going to show you what wisdom looks like, and then happy to take any questions a bit later on. Basically, wisdom is a purpose-built tool. It's designed for WISPs. It's a property coverage tool and a planning tool. And the property element is quite important. Key takeaways, really, it's super fast. I mean, on a level that has not been achieved historically. We use GPU acceleration, and Wisdom can perform over 1 billion high-resolution line-of-sight tests per second, or the equivalent of over 300 high-resolution view sheds per second. So it's really quick. It's very high-resolution data, so the accuracy is there. If you want to get into cnWave and you want to get into Teragraph, which I really, really recommend you do because it's just the future, then you need high-quality, high-res data. Wisdom understands about radio antenna patterns in 3D. It understands about RF propagation, and it understands about addresses, properties that you might want to connect. So those are key aspects of Wisdom. I want to just really touch on accuracy, because accuracy is really the thing that I'm really obsessed about in Wisdom. If you use tools like towercoverage.com or Google Earth, they sample data roughly at 30-meter intervals. So if you get a square kilometer, the number of samples that a square kilometer of data has is about 1,100. So each square kilometer divided up into a grid of about just over 1,000 points. At 10 meters resolution, which is what you can see on the screen there, which is just a blurry mess, there are about 10,000 points that are sampled. Wisdom samples at 2-meter resolution or higher, which is 250,000 points per square kilometer. And in fact, within the UK, we have mapped all of the UK, which is about 210,000 square kilometres at 2 meters resolution, which is just over 52 billion points of surface data. And then there's the terrain data underneath. That's what 5 meter resolution looks like. That's what 2 meter resolution looks like. And you can start to see that there's actually some features there. You can see that there are buildings. And when you go down to a high resolution, you can see much more detail. And Wisdom can work at resolutions down to 12.5 centimeters if you need it to. We tend to find that that's not really worthwhile because it's very hard to get an engineer to install a piece of equipment to within an accuracy of 12.5 centimeters. Sometimes it's hard to get them on the right building. So Wisdom sees things in 3D. It understands antenna patterns, as I mentioned. There's an example there of a 120-degree sector with all of its lobes and all of its weird foibles. And if you tilt the antenna up or down, you'll see what happens, what the effect of that is. So rather than just spouting on about it, let's show you what it looks like. Here's a map. Here's Wisdom. I've got some demo data. And on the left-hand side, I've got some collections of sites. So here's a site collection, which is in the North Yorkshire area. I can switch on and off different layers, so I can see what things look like in sort of hillshade mode, which can be useful, or even 3D buildings if you're particularly interested in that sort of thing. So there's kind of lots of ways that you can view data. And we also have extra layers that we can put on top. So, for example, if anyone's interested in working in Scotland at the moment and exploiting the £5,000 per premises voucher scheme, we've taken the data from the Scottish Broadband Voucher Scheme and turned it into a heat map. So this is the kind of layer that we can switch on in line with what your requirements might be. So we've sampled 500,000 properties that are eligible for voucher funding, and you can see those as a heat map. And as you zoom in, you can see the intensity of the heat map or in individual properties, if you like, that are around there. So if I was to grab a site, so I've created one called Sample Scottish Site. You can see I'm very, very imaginative. Here's a site. We're saying that it's 10 meters high. I've put it in the wrong network because that should actually be in Scotland. But anyway, there we are. And on that site, we are going to have a radio. And that radio is a Sample Scottish radio. And I'm saying that that's an isotropic radio. Let's turn it into a Cambium whatever. Well, I'll leave it as isotropic for now. It's a bit theoretical, but we're running on 5.8 gigs, 36 dB of power. I wonder how many of these properties I can see. So that's just done a line of sight test to everything in the in the property set from the Scottish Broadband Voucher Scheme. If I click down here, I can see that it sees none of them. That's because I've got the wrong property set. Let's try that again. Right, test coverage. Nothing like a well-rehearsed plan. Okay, so that's just done a line of sight test to everything in the voucher scheme downloaded from the Scottish Government. And I can see 447 properties which would be eligible for voucher funding. And if I click on one at random, you can see the address, you can see the expected RSL, you can see the direction of the bearing. So if an engineer needs to install it, name it at the AP, that's the direction it would face. Those 447 properties would all be eligible for a pretty tasty voucher. If I move the access point or move my transmitter, I can test it again, and it's doing another line of sight test to all of them, and I can now see that there's 109. So I've made it much worse. So in real time, I can determine where is a good place to harvest £5,000 vouchers if that's your thing. And I'll show you a bit more detail on that in a sec. Let's jump out of Scotland. So I'll switch those layers off and go to my my network a bit further south. So as I mentioned, we like to see things in high resolution. Here's an example of what the data looks like. This is what Wisdom sees. And as you can see, it's not just the kind of stuff that you see on a hillshade map. You can see the slope of the roofs of the properties. You can see the trees. You can see the hedges. You can see the dry stone walls. This is in North Yorkshire. So this is quite unusual to be able to operate at this resolution, and we can do this at a national scale. So that's quite cool. Let's grab a site. So I've got a site here, and that's got a couple of radios on it. It's got a north-facing sector, which is a PMP 450. It's got a west-facing sector, and if I want, I can test the coverage of that west-facing sector. Does a line of sight. Oops, changed my property list back from Scottish because it won't see any from Scotland to address base in Yorkshire. And that can see, what have we got? 4,057 premises that it's got line of sight. They're all to the west because this is an antenna facing west. If I click over here, I can also show the properties that it couldn't see. So it actually did line of sight test to many thousands of properties and just shows the green dots for the ones that it can see. And interestingly, you can see the line of sight profile for that one, 29 Sharpore Avenue, and we could see that that's going to give us a target RSL of -55 dB. There are some on that are pretty close that are on the edge, and they only get 62 dB. And the reason for that is it's on the edge of the beam. And there may be others where we do still have line of sight, that one doesn't, but it will fail our coverage test, not because of line of sight, but it will do that, but also because of not getting enough signal if it's on the edge of the cell for the antenna. Likewise, I can change my parameters. I could add another radio on there and say, let's pop a, what do we want? Well, I love Terragraph. You need to get into Terragraph, by the way. Where's my nice little Terragraph radio? There we go. Let's put a cnWave V5000 in, running on 59 gigahertz. And I won't worry too much about the power at the moment. And I'm going to use a Terragraph model, if I can get down that far. There we go. When I test the coverage on that radio, I can see 1,133 premises. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if I could claim a gigabit voucher for any of those. So let's switch on the rurality codes for the UK. So here we go. That is the whole of the UK in rural setting. And that is in a C1 area. That means it's urban, so I can't claim any vouchers in that area. So that's kind of disappointing. Let's rotate the access point a bit. So here's our cnWave. Let's aim it south. And that's the coverage. And we get a different pattern. So we've now got 730 premises. And look, I've got a couple that are just in the rural code. Let's download them and see what they look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the data for the addresses for all of these radios all in one go. Press the button down here, create a coverage report, and I will add an extra bit of data on it. Press download. That's now testing everything in the whole region, and I have a report in Excel. I'm going to make it pretty because I like pretty things. Turn it into a table. And what we've now got is a list of beautiful properties in a nice format with the address, the UPRN, which you need if you're claiming vouchers, where it is. It's got a class, property class, RDO2, I believe, is a semi-detached residential. CR, C is commercial, R is retail. So I know that that's a shop. So that's worth £3,500 if it's in a rural area. And we know what the RSL is, we know what the link distance is, and therefore we can calculate speed. So from this, you can literally download the coverage for an AP before you build the AP, mail everybody with this data, tell them that you can give them 100 megs or a gigabit, whatever, and if you get a good response, build it. So that is all I wanted to show by way of demonstration, give you a quick fly through. And I would like to hand back over to you, Brian, in the studio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. That's really interesting, and thanks for actually showing us how it works. Can you tell me sort of who uses Wisdom today?
Yes, we've done some project work for about 30 operators in Ireland. We've mapped all of Ireland, and that's kind of an interesting project. We've done town centre Wi-Fi planning for 9net in North Yorkshire for 24 towns. And all the larger WISPs use it. So people like Boundless, Vineus, Quickline, lots of smaller operators, quite a few in Scotland as well. So we have about 20 customers. We've done some project work for people like Ofcom and government and Nokia, people like that. But regular subscribers is really where we're at, and that's what our key base is.
And what about the future for it? Where do you see it sort of going?
Well, we're 2 years into our journey so far in terms of commercializing it. It's pretty good at the moment. We're very pleased with it. We're on track for where we want it to be. This year, we're going to create some specific functionality for Terragraph to make modeling either robust or high performance or low cost Terragraph networks over very large areas in real time. And later on in the year, we're going to launch into other countries such as the United States. And next year, we will be releasing an LTE variant, which will be focused mostly around 5G. And we do quite a bit of work with 5G at the moment.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again for joining us. And again, happy birthday. I hope you're going to manage to do something with the rest of the day in these very restricted times that we have.
Thank you.
But for now, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And thanks for everybody for your attention today. Thanks.
Okay, everyone. So I'm going to tell you yet again about the feedback forms, because I still need to get more of you to respond. And you do have this incredible prize opportunity. Don't forget, I'm sure £100 will come in handy for a takeaway meal when you're fed up of cooking, etc., wherever you are across the UK or elsewhere. But for now, I'm pleased to tell you that JF is back, or will be any second now. And here he is.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff. How are you? Now, talking about finance, I think that's the subject of your next talk, financial options for your next IT investment. Obviously, with the state the world is, every penny counts, every euro counts, whatever currency you're on. So, yeah, looking forward to hearing what you've got to say on this. The stage is yours.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Brian, and joyeux anniversaire, David, by the way. Financing. When you look at what happened recently with the COVID pandemic, we have been all suffering, whether our companies or our end users, and I think that looking at financing option is now becoming relevant. So I will be presenting to you this morning actually two options. Leasing from a third party, and I will highlight one of our partnership with Green Key Leasing Solution Services, and our nearly launch. This is an avant-premiere network as a service business model. So what are we looking after here at with those financing options? Well, it's the ability to instead of offering a capex only model, a capex plus opex or opex alternative for partners, for end users that would be more comfortable paying as a service, paying on a monthly or quarterly basis. And usually it's not only hardware, but hardware bundled within a service package. We will be selling as a service on with a contract over 36 to 60 months in average. This with quarterly installment, and the ability, and this is good about those kind of contract where you do have recurring revenues. The ability to expand on this contract, not only to expand the length of the contract itself, but also to add more services along the contract. What plays for or against leasing versus network as a service? Well, with a leasing, you will be leasing any hardware and any software plus installation cost, training cost to a customer that will become liable for this investment. On the other end, with network as a service business model from Cambium, it will be, and you understand, why Cambium networks only product and services, but that will definitely help you to pass this on to your customers, or to use this to build your own model as a service wherever you are, whoever you're working with, but at least you will have an alternative financing option to consider. Going after Greenker, looking closely at what they are doing. Greenker is a pan-European and even more, but mostly pan-European actor of leasing services. They're doing things quite simply, and the process that they are offering is fine enough to for us to put them in front of our channel partners, and this is why we have signed with them an agreement last year. They are able to lease or rent. That's really upon the type of project that you will be coming with. Any kind of project. We've normally done at all from £300 upwards, with no threshold. So we could speak about millions of pounds to be leased through this model. It's usually 36 to 48 months for IT or broadband infrastructure equipment. They have a system that is easy to understand. They are actually be submitted with a quote, the quote that you are sending to an end user, or if not a quote, well, the investment you're considering, and they will be looking at your liability, making a health check of your company, as well as the end customer, if you are signing with an end customer, enabling to find out about the ability from each party to support this leasing services on the length of the contract. From the moment they are fine with your status, your finances, they will be lending you the money. They will be leasing, giving you the totality of the investment that you are considering, whatever the length. This as a one-off, and you will be able to pay directly our distributor for all the equipment. But also, finance your own training cost, your own installation cost, and this with a third-party contract that you would sign as the end customer you're considering. You can find their services and interlocutors at grainkey.com/location, and as you could note, for Ireland and UK and Nordics, there are a few offices that you can reach out physically. And when looking at the website, you will end up with all the contact person you can reach out to. When submitting a request for a leasing quote from their side, you may want to copy my interlocutor at Grainkey, as well as I, to make sure that you will have a Cambium Grainkey assistance afterwards. And I would be really happy to assist you and support you best with them to make sure that you end up with the right proposal. When we have to compare network as a service versus leasing, when we are coming with something slightly different, it's financed by Cambium for Cambium channel partners, and it's a package including the hardware that this is a focus so far on Wi-Fi, but we will be extending this from access point only to access point and switches, and hopefully if this is a successful model, we will expand it to other product of Cambium. So it's hardware plus software. So the software you have been presenting already, you should have heard about cnMaestro X. cnMaestro X is the advanced feature version of cnMaestro Essentials, where you end up with an MSP mode, some additional features, longer history of data, and so forth. We can come back on this. And some services, actually Cambium Care Pro with advanced replacement and priority access to level 2 and level 3 support. Out of this bundle, we are offering a quarterly installment. So this is what I will be presenting in the next slide, in 2 slides actually from now, a price per quarter per access point. So this will be the way onward with this model, the ability to buy equipment, not as a one-off, but on a 3 to 5 years contract, including the licensing and support. Regarding the software cnMaestro X, as I said, it's the 360-degree view over your client base, more history, more features, an enhanced EPSK feature, longer history, RESTful API, and this will definitely change the way you are managing your equipment. And having next to that Cambium Care Pro will be the ability to bring some redundancy in terms of security and assistance whenever you need some. What we're talking about, actually, we have 11AC bundle, 802.11ax bundle, so made around our key Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6 access point, the E410, the E600, and the XV22. And so over a 3-year contract, an E410 will be sold to you with cnMaestro X subscription, 24/7 technical support, software updates, and next day shipment replacement at $35 per access point per quarter. And if it's over a 5-year contract, it will be $25 per access point per quarter. And I think, and we have been working on this for the last year plus, we ended up with something that is now attractive and should find is public when we will be launching it. Actually, it's at this stage, it's a really soft launch. I'm sharing this for the very first time in EMEA, and what we will be requesting from the channel to enable this is actually to have the distributor you're working with to sign the network as a service addendum agreement that we look together at a project of minimum 25 APs. And as a counterpart, you will benefit as an early adopter of the network as a service business model, some interesting add-ons. So more time of pre-sales engineers, technical trainings, a credit memo for 2 E410s on top of your order, a direct access to Cambium leadership team to get and receive your follow-up to understand, whether it meets your expectation, and moreover, an additional support of $1,000 MDF, so marketing fund, to support this activity and the communication around. I hope that was clear enough. It has been probably shortened at the time I was initially given for, but I'm expecting some question, and either now or afterwards, and I will be pleased to answer them, as you could see on the screen, but you should already have them. Otherwise, you have my phone number, my email address, and whatever the social network you are on, you should find my name.
JF, thank you very much for that. I do actually have a question already, and someone is asking, is the Cambium business model applicable for all enterprise products?
So it is for Wi-Fi access point only at this stage, but on request, I will be glad to look at the ability to extend this to more products. It will be really on a business case basis. So yeah, ask me, come up with a particular project, and I will be happy to look at that with the team.
Okay, JF, thank you very much. Go and enjoy the sunshine. Don't mention the temperature, but thank you for joining us twice today.
Have a nice end of the day, and hope to see you soon, physically.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce the next speaker, you know what I'm going to say. Feedback forms, please. You're running out of time to win your Amazon voucher prizes. And don't forget the sponsor websites, and also the fact that you can have a video chat with any of them for a good hour after the main event finishes. So that's one more reminder for you. Okay, so we're now going to have joining us another Chelsea fan, and he should be with us any minute, Barry Reid of IL Labs.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Barry, how are you?
Oh, good, thank you. Not in the sunlight, JF, but I'm in the loft.
Oh, are you? Oh, so you're a bit nearer the sun. You might get a bit more warmth eventually.
Yeah. Nowhere near as professional as David. He's got his own recording studio, hasn't he?
He has. Yes, and I noticed that the microphone was showing just to make sure people spotted it. Yeah, he's got it all. I've been to his offices actually, and it does overlook this hangar with these helicopters in. So it's quite an impressive spot to have an office, I have to say. Anyway, look, thank you for joining us today. And again, thank you for the sponsorship. It's very, very important to Cambium. You're going to be talking about Wi-Fi models for customer engagement. So I'm going to hand the stage over to you, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the IL Lab slot. I hope you've enjoyed the session so far, and I can continue the good work. So the world is changing, possibly the biggest understatement ever. We've known a while IoT would be the key. However, since early 2020, we've seen a rapid adoption of these new technologies. A prime example is here today, virtual events for businesses. But families are holding weekly Teams calls, sharing videos and media, and even playing games. In all sectors, there are growing awareness of benefits that IoT can bring. These varied data collection points are allowing businesses to measure, analyze, and act upon the data received. So IL Labs provides a platform to complete these data-driven business tasks in many industries by providing highly customizable and powerful digital marketing platform with advanced location analytics leveraging your customers' Wi-Fi. So as an introduction to IL Labs, we're a Canadian company based in Toronto with a total of 4 global offices. We have 50 plus employees. So we're a small organization, but however, we're very flexible. And the team is totally focused on customer success. We have an enormous experience in customer engagement, digital marketing, and location analytics. Founded in 2013, we're financially viable through our managed service model, a bit like JF's NAS, but we offer a SaaS. And we're also backed by strategic and recognized corporations such as Salesforce. There's a big one. IL Labs was founded by Nick Kudas and Nilesh Bansal, who both previously founded Systemus, which went on to become the most advanced social media analytics platform of its kind, serving 70% of Fortune 50 enterprises. Following the successful acquisition of Systemus by MarketWire in 2007, the two entrepreneurs created the marketing and analytics platform for the physical bricks and mortar spaces, namely IL Labs. So our advantages on our expertise. As we see it today, many businesses of all sizes strive to understand who their customers are, how to connect and market to them, and their behavioural patterns whilst at their venue. The IoT Labs platform addresses these fundamental pain points. The IoT Labs platform is a pure software play, and due to our native integration, deploying and enabling the product takes place remotely without any physical disruptions or impact to the Wi-Fi operations. Our installed base is in excess of 6,000 locations and deployed across 200,000 plus APs. In any one day, we can collect up to 7 billion plus data points, which equates to over 275 billion data points a year, with 100 million plus new customer profiles created on the platform. This enables on-premise and post-visit advertising and delivers 20 million plus emails sent and validated this year alone. Here you can see just some of our customers serviced by our solution, which is a complete cross-section across all verticals. We have airports, and yeah, Gatwick is one, and Heathrow is actually running a pilot. We have sports and entertainment venues, the Mavericks over there in the US. However, we have Raith Rovers Football Club in Scotland. We have various food and beverage retail outlets, Flanagan's, an American restaurant chain, and Coffee Angel, who are actually based in Ireland. We have a host of shopping centres, or malls, as the Americans like to call it, Simon Malls, Brookfield, and we're also doing work with British Land. Hospitality includes McKibben Group, which is people such as, or hotels such as Hilton and Moxie. And last but not least, within the higher education sector, we have clients all around the US, but also just a new client, end of last year, University of Surrey, who I'll mention later. So we serve thousands of venues, large and small, across the globe, including the most visited place on the planet, the Dubai Mall, who has 80 million plus annual visitors, and well worth a visit if you get a chance. The IoT Labs platform is completely modular. It consists of two main products, which again can be broken down into individual solution sets to meet any of your clients' needs. So from a very high level overview, let's explore the product, and 2 slides, I promise. So Flow. Flow is our anonymous location analytics solution, utilizing the as-installed Wi-Fi infrastructure. There are no on-site controllers, gateways, or any other hardware, a pure software play. The dashboard delivers 100 plus interactive reports, which include footfall, dwell time, cross-location and area visits, heat maps, and also path flows. All of the data can be visualized live or historically from a central point. Flow is a comprehensive location analytics solution. However, in its basic format, we can simplify the dashboard to provide smart occupancy service, providing real-time monitoring, alerts, and historical reporting. An example of which is University of Surrey, where the staff, security, and students can view the occupancy level within the public spaces, such as library, coffee shops, and of course, it's a students' bars. With this information, the students and staff can decide whether they really want to attend the respective venue. Or, on the flip side, security can intervene when occupancy thresholds are reached. Insights is a subset of Flow that unifies visitor behavioural analytics using multiple sensor types at the bricks and mortar venues. Integration includes a multitude of counters, cameras, sensors, and even EPOS devices. This allows us to collect and analyze millions of data points, unifying and validating across a cross-section of people counting data services, and all from our common dashboard. And I believe the saying now in our lovely industry is a single pane of glass. The second product is Connect. Connect is our marketing and guest engagement platform. Easy to use and manage and customizable and programmable with splash pages. The Wi-Fi users can choose between social login, email, SMS, and purpose-built forms, and any other authentications. As I've said, the portal splash pages can be pre-programmed in line with the client's calendar and schedules, advertising specific events, and the message can change for different locations. We'll come on to a use case later. Depending on the user's sign-in preference and the personal choices, we can collect comprehensive demographic data such as age, gender, location, interests, and many more. Combining the Connect and the Flow platforms allow your customers to understand visitor behavior through demographic information, compare the statistics across time and multiple locations, and validate whether their marketing activities were a success. Targeted marketing campaigns within the Connect platform can be aimed at new customers, at-risk customers, specific demographics, and more, and even deliver automated newsletters and surveys. These omni or multi-channel, as they like to call it, automated marketing campaigns can be performed for on-site or off-site activities, including in smart venue promotions, birthdays. They can send emails for your birthday. I received one from American Golf, funny enough, and even coupons that give you discounts on different retail outlets. We have several customer case studies where the clients have proved that they're increased in their customer loyalty utilizing the automated CRM builder has increased their user base by tens of thousands and even in some cases hundreds of thousands. All of this by obtaining the marketing opt-ins from all the subscribing customers logging on to their free Wi-Fi. Customer Hub is a subset of Connect platform and unifies online and offline data collection from sources such as in-store visits, the manual cards and surveys, web browsing, e-commerce purchases, and many more. This integration with the existing software platforms or devices and apps provides additional insights and analysis into a single platform, our Connect basis. The outcome of which allows the customer to deploy advanced marketing capabilities and target the right customer at the right time. I'm just going to go through a couple of use cases now, and I hope I don't run out of time. So the first is Flow, a use case for ROI and benchmarking. So the Flow location analytics platform can measure the total attendance, as we've said, can measure dwell time and customer behavior. In this particular use case, the venue uses specific zone data to determine attendance during an event. And also they monitor the paths to evaluate the impact of the marketing campaign. After the event, they can then report the ROI of the event and benchmark for future events. The user examples, and this can be seen in many areas, not just shopping malls, but exhibition centres and even town centres where they hold specific Christmas markets or festival events. Imagine the town council being able to understand the before and after footfall statistics generated by those particular festivities. Location and zone-based data can also be used to improve operational efficiencies based on occupancy levels. User examples include higher education, where they're linking the data to their building management system to reduce their carbon footprint. A second user case could be seen in Calgary city libraries, where they proved spaces were underutilised and have subsequently realigned the areas to include more tables and chairs to satisfy the need for people holding mini meetings in the library. Flow can also be utilised for multi-tenant and concession-based leasing environments, such as stadiums, entertainment venues, and in this case, again, shopping malls. By analysing the location analytics and conversion metrics, venues can measure the performance by location for a specific tenant, new or existing. They can determine the demographic of mutually relevant tenants and even enhance their performance subject to being located together or apart. And we have case studies in which include luxury brands opening new stores in specific malls. We also have food and beverage brands, coffee shops, etc., opening new stores close to the competition because they know the footfall is bigger there. To elaborate a bit more on the insights, we have an example for customer behavioural analytics, which can be found at several airports. Basically, each of the clients had counter infrastructure. With Gatwick, we integrated with the camera solutions and combined both counter data and Wi-Fi data. This assisted in managing resources for areas such as check-in, security, retail, and gate areas. Applying more resources into these areas or less as need be. Let's get on to the Connect use cases. With multi-tenanted venues, splash pages or portal pages can be an absolute administrative nightmare, or can be simply overlooked, and then they miss the opportunity to advertise or communicate with the different guests. In this particular case, our Labs Connect was used to create new splash pages that allowed social networks and email addresses for sign-up. These splash pages were designed, configured, and approved by the customer's marketing and management teams in advance. They then programmed into the Connect calendar to be ready for those specific events. The value to the client is that all three particular teams that play at this stadium are now using the solution in unison. It's an automated process and the different splash page experiences based on the individual event. We have a video in our booth that explains the customer's experience and their new enhancements based on utilizing the location data as well. Omni-channel marketing. You know, there's a lot of hyper words out there today, and I'm not a retail specialist. However, one of the things that is quite clear to see is how do you capitalize on an event and encourage guests to revisit? In this particular instance, the mall was opening a new area. The marketing team were requested to customize the campaign to visitors who hadn't visited them in more than 6 months. They deemed these customers as lost customers. Using the Connect platform, we were able to, and the customer was able to, both target specific customers and measure the revisits from such shoppers post-campaign and following the mall expansion. What was the value to the client? Well, within a month, the mall saw more than 30,000 visits from the lost customers who spent 10% more time on site and had 26% more revisits than the average shopper. So, no further ado, let's explore the opportunities. This just leads me to thank you for your time and leave you with a couple of takeaways. The IoT Labs platform can help your customers engage with their customers and provide strategic location data for all visitors, associated or not associated to the network. The solution is offered as a managed service and several options to meet your client's commercial requirements and, at the end of the day, increase your current bottom line. Please feel free to visit our virtual stand or visit our website, call or email me to discuss any opportunities or even request a demonstration. Remember, the proof is always in the pudding. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Thank you very much for that. In fact, actually, I think we've already got several potential customers for you. We've had several people respond already. How do people sort of engage with you? What's the best way forward?
The best way forward, we have an open engagement. Call us direct. We can work with you as you require. So I know you have your channel partners, and we can actually make them reseller partners, and or even reference partners. It's however they want to deal with us. We provide material and live demonstrations for the clients, and our technical team are always here to assist with the deployment.
Okay, I've got one other more specific thing. Someone's asked, you said the products were modular. How does that work from like a sales perspective?
Okay, so from a sales perspective, it's all about understanding the client's objectives and their challenges. And then we can fit whatever module they need most suited. So if we take Rafe Rovers, for instance, as a prime example, they don't need to understand the location of people attending site, but what they wanted to understand was their season ticket holders, and they wanted to give them the ability to log on to the Wi-Fi network, giving them a free service, but also be able to connect with them. So they took the Connect as a basic format with a small marketing. So it's very modularized. The modules can be added during the contract period as well. As I said, it's a managed service.
Okay, well, Barry, thank you very much for talking to us. And again, thank you for the sponsorship.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Well, you're in the last chance saloon now for feedback forms. I'm not going to mention it again because I've gone on and on about it, and you've had a really good opportunity to fill those in. So we're now going to welcome Anthony Holmes of Cambium. Anthony is the VP of Millimeter Wave Products. Hello, Anthony. How are you?
Hello, Brian. I'm fine, thank you.
Now, I was trying to find out something about you, you see, to sort of a little comment, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And then completely out of the blue, I found out that you are a free fall parachutist. Now, that's pretty spectacular.
Many, many, many years ago, when I was in the OTC. Yeah.
So if Cambium needs someone to get into a customer issue or opportunity, they could literally parachute you in to look after it.
Many times, yes. I'm here and available. I can do that.
Okay. So you're going to give us a presentation and some examples actually of deployment of cnWave, and then I think there's also going to be a video after the presentation. And if some questions come in, I'll talk to you after the video.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much.
Over to you.
Thanks. So normally the last presentation of the day is a dodgy one. Everyone's sort of desperate to get off to the bar or the buffet. So with this virtual conferencing, I get a little bit more leeway. So hopefully I can keep you interested for the next 20 odd minutes. Okay, over the past 6 months, there's been a dramatic increase in the awareness of fixed wireless around the world. Basically, it's been driven by the confluence of factors. That includes the demand for broadband due to the 5G, and also COVID as well, making people wanting more distributed broadband access. There's another exciting reason as well, we think, which is the arrival of the new 802.11ay standard and teragraph platforms becoming available for multi-gigabit wireless access. The timing couldn't be more perfect for this game-changing technology. With technology, it's now possible to deliver reliable multi-gigabit wireless broadband at the edge of the network. All right, so over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to give a brief overview of the technology and the architecture that's made this possible. And I will focus on a number of the deployments we actually have out in the field now and being used. So what is this about? In the past, fixed wireless access is in people's heads been right up the top of a mast, and don't get me wrong, we have a place for this. This is providing broadband access to a large area, but we're moving this down to the street corner, from the mast to the street corner, making it easy for anyone to deploy a multi-gigabit radio system, as easy as putting up Wi-Fi access points. So what's changed? In the past, 10 years ago now, we had the 11AD standard, and that's great for high performance point-to-point over short distances. However, go to point-to-multipoint and it suffers. So in 2020, the .11ay standard came along, and Qualcomm and Facebook technology was introduced into that, and they've helped guide and put many changes into that standard. So what does that mean for you as a customer? You still got the same very wide channels. That's 2.16 gig channels. But now you're actually capable of transporting around about 3.6 gigabits per second on each one of those channels. With channel bonding, you're able to potentially double that data rate, getting over 7 gigabits per second on a single channel. Oh, sorry, on a single channel bonded channel using 2 of those. With scalability, you've now got a total cost of ownership is being reduced. Lower times to deploy with beamforming, centralized management and control, all helping to get your network up and running quickly. Dense deployments. Network sync TDD frames allow more units to work together and share the resource. You've got single channel reuse and interference mitigation helping with that dense deployment. With .11AD, you would often you start putting units close together, you'd often start getting interference due to the way it shares the channels. Network efficiencies. You can have multiple POPs, point of presence, allowing the capacity to be shared across the whole network. You can balance and reroute in that network. You've got coordinated scheduling between each of the distribution nodes, allowing you to share the resources across that network. High availability. With mesh networking, you're able to self-heal, and you're self-aware, you know where the problems are, and you can reroute around those problems. And then overall, about cloud-based management and centralized management as well. The network isn't managed on each individual radio. There's no need to go to client radios. It's actually managed in a centralized point, and any configuration is then distributed from that centralized point. Zero-touch installs. It's scalable from tens of units to hundreds to thousands of units over multiple networks. So what does that mean? We believe it's endless possibilities for service providers, whether you're supplying small cell backhauls, campus area networks, fiber extensions, urban, enterprise, or residential services. You now have a solution which is easy to install and get up and running quickly. Now, how's this done? Standards are great, but it actually we then take it. You know, we've been in the radio business for many, many years, and you've seen examples of how we've taken standards and we've improved them, whether it's if you've used the canopy-based systems with Medusa and the 450M, or EPMP, how we've, by synchronizing that, we've enabled Wi-Fi devices to be able to, again, be high-density delivery systems for fixed wireless. So how are we going to do this with this radio system? Distribution is we can string distribution nodes, they're called, along the street, connecting many clients along the way. So it's not a single point. You go from point to multi-point can be done, point to point can be done. But actually what you're doing here is distributing your backhaul along the area you want to cover. This basically means you can turn non-line of sight into line of sight by having multiple distribution points. Different long-range clients, short-range clients, different clients for different needs. Our range provides you the high throughput long-range client via the V3000, or if you want residential customers, short range, still you're going to get gigabit rates at around about 200 meters. You've then got your P2P, PMP, mesh topologies as well. So very flexible of how you can actually deploy this system. Then we have the tools for planning and deploying. So LiDAR-based tools, planning tools. The link planner, which if you've done fixed wireless access before, you know can help plan from point-to-point links to networks. We have mesh planning tools, enables you to put in redundancy and resilience. And then all this, as far as deployment is concerned, that automatic beamforming, it's turning the art of installation into, if you've got that line of sight, you just put the radio up, the centralized management system will configure that unit, and that unit will be online very quickly. And then, of course, we have on top of this a mature network management software platform, cnMaestro. You can manage the wireless. You can manage the wireless solution from the backhaul, fixed access, right into the home or office with cnPilot through that single management system. As we say, the single pane of glass. So let's introduce the three characters that Cambium are using for cnWave 60 gigahertz and the multi-gigabit radio system. We have the V5000, which is a distribution node. As I said, this is where you distribute your backhaul along the street, along a town, and you can then, from that point, use the client nodes. And we have the V3000 and the V1000. I'm going to quickly go through the specs. I'm not going to read through all these. They're available for people to see. But this one is a very unique design. Whilst, again, you know, we talk about the underlying technology and standards, Cambium Networks has taken these standards and done something different to the mainstream. We've provided this 280-degree coverage from a single unit to be able to provide support up to 30 other radios from this distribution point. They can be client nodes, or they could send and provide backhaul to other distribution nodes, up to 2 per sector. This allows, in a very neat small package, and also quite low power as well, at 35 watts, the ability to start your network from a single point and grow to many, many distribution nodes and many, many clients. The high gain node. In the past, we've talked about the V3000 having this 1 foot dish on it, and that gave up to 60 dBm EIRP. In Europe, you're allowed to use that up to 55 dBm EIRP. What we've actually added to this is, because of the uniqueness of the design, the way that we design this dish, rather than actually using a parabolic dish, we've gone for this design. It allows us to actually just swap out the dish as an accessory to a different size. So if you want a smaller compact radio, we will be introducing next quarter this smaller dish, which still gives you around about 54.5 dBm EIRP. So perfect for the European market and for when you want just to have a smaller form factor as well. So you'll see that coming soon, and this is just a quick introduction to that one. And then we have the V1000, which is, you could imagine, the residential client node. This will give you, it has a 1 gigabit per second port on there, and will provide that 1 gigabit per second to customers at around about 200 meters. I mentioned about many configurations, from point to point, point to multi-point, meshing, and we call it a sort of small cell backhaul, but it's actually like a relay where you can stretch from a single point. You can stretch your network to for a great distance. The V3000, for example, could actually go for many kilometers in as long as it's line of sight. We actually have a link, and I'll show you later in the examples, where it's been pretty rock solid for several months now at over 1.2 kilometers, providing 3.6 gigabits per second bidirectional rate. If you can imagine, you could string up to 15 of these together and cover a huge distance instead of putting a fiber trench in. And then once you've actually covered that distance, you could then use something like a DN to then distribute that, that network to wherever you needed to. So I'm actually going to talk a little bit now about some trials that we've had going around the world. Now we're actually in full production of this and delivering products to customers as quickly as we can get them out of the door, both at the factory and the distribution centers. So, but we actually took focus on around about 40 sites around the world where we installed these units, and we worked with the customers to look at use cases and look at seeing how the radios performed. So we've actually got quite a lot of data from the field showing that how this works and how well it works. So let's go into a few of these. City centre deployment. Just briefly, what do we expect from a city centre deployment? We've got a rooftop to rooftop. You can actually point to point. You can actually join two offices together, or you can actually stretch that backhaul that you want to get from one point to the other. Again, rooftop to rooftop, PMP with mesh. This is linking multiple businesses together using these distribution nodes throughout at street level or at rooftop level. Broadband for business. And then going down to the street furniture as well. The size of these radios are neat and compact, so putting them onto street furniture, shouldn't detract from and shouldn't cause any sort of ugliness there, and it's not an ugly sight. Each one of those V5000s, if you look at the detail, actually has an auxiliary port on there which has a PoE out. So we have a number of instances where we're actually powering the CN Pilot outdoor Wi-Fi devices and able to provide Wi-Fi hotspots throughout cities using that. Then we look at Wi-Fi backhaul. So this is an example of an actual city where we've used where we've used our products. Here we've got a smart city, around about 90 distribution nodes throughout the city, covering around about 60 to 70 businesses. And again, at each one of those distribution nodes, we have a Wi-Fi hotspot to provide city free Wi-Fi. We are actually privileged to be part of one of the biggest deployments of 60 gigahertz in the world, in Malaysia. Cambium Networks was chosen to finish off and replace the trial network that Facebook did with YTL in Malaysia. This is around about 400 to 500 units are deployed throughout the city. Again, providing not only enterprise customers, but also residential customers for those cities. And once again, using that Wi-Fi coverage from the auxiliary port from that device. Wi-Fi is backhauled through it. Then we look at residential broadband. Residential broadband, you can see from this, where you can connect house to house through these distribution nodes. And again, you can stretch the coverage by CNs off each one of those distribution nodes. Let's take a look at some examples. So here in the US, we had an RDOF customer, which it's like the voucher scheme, the rural voucher scheme in the UK, where they had to show they could provide gigabit access to subscribers, residential customers. So this plan here is covering a rural area, and as you can see on the right, we actually were able to do that over 200 meters, 250 meters. We were getting nearly 1.8 in both directions, upstream and downstream, to that residential customer. So again, we're looking at rolling this out to many customers to get this voucher scheme in the US. Likewise, in the UK, we have a number of examples where we're working with ISPs. Enterprise estates. We have a point of presence at the top of the picture in green. This point of presence can be used. This could be a fiber point of presence, and from that point on, you then distribute using the distribution nodes from building to building across that office complex. And again, the client, you can actually tap straight into those distribution nodes. You can see in the picture below, we actually, the office park in Devon, in Ashburton, where this is developed, you can actually see we've actually done that industrial park there with these radios. And once again, in the car park, we're providing that Wi-Fi access and all public areas. Private networks, campus connectivity. What we're seeing here is in universities, colleges, and even again, even larger office complex. We're able to distribute the WAN across from building to building. Once again, public areas are then offered the facility of the Wi-Fi access. We're getting around about a gigabit per second on that. Rail yards, industrial applications. So where you actually want to have connectivity and reliability, we can do that again with the distribution nodes. We're covering rail yards in the US. Industrial IoT, this is a massive chemical plant where we're looking here at each intersection point on the site of putting distribution nodes to not only backhaul the private network office to office and factory to factory, but also sensor data for the production plan. And again, once again, people can roam around that site doing Wi-Fi roaming, backhauled again through the cnWave solution. With small cell backhaul, it's a slightly different story here. Well, it's here we're not actually doing large networks, but actually linking those small cells from one to another to be able to backhaul high throughput at very high availability. 5 nines, even 6 nines availability has been asked for, and this solution can ramp up even to that. What we have here in a city street in Asia, we're able to, from the 5G cellular stations, we're able to relay that data to 3 sites. They've got the fiber pop coming in at point B, and we're able there to actually connect the small cells CNA using the cnWave, and we're getting mean around about the 1.8, 1.9 gigabits per second, but we're actually getting that, we're getting over a gigabit at 6 nines availability. It's short range, but digging up streets like this, even for 100 meters, is costly and causes too much disruption. Putting up a radio like this can take hours rather than days. This is the PTP link that we've been practicing with. We've actually got a number of very long PTP links around the world. The longest one is actually 1.5 kilometers. This one is 1.2 kilometers. This is in Devon, and Devon, as you know, is very green for a reason. It's because it rains a lot. But yet we are still able to keep the link up and stay but rock solid. The actual throughput we're seeing from this, now we'll see a consistent 1.8, 1.7 gigabits in each direction. Now, all this, as I said, is managed from a centralized point. We have many ways in Cambium to do this. You can manage this if you wish through just for a local PC, and you go to the distribution node. For small networks, you can do this on the single unit. However, we have cnMaestro. cnMaestro is an excellent resource to be able to manage your network on, and many of our Cambium Networks equipment. So again, you can actually use Maestro connected to this either on-premise or on cloud. For even larger networks, you can, and for redundancy and high availability, that end-to-end controller can be taken off board and put into your server room. So you've got a lot of flexibility here of how you manage your system. Planning tools. If you have used any CN if you used any Cambium equipment over the past 10, 11 years, you know about Link Planner, how you can plan links to know what the availability will be, whether or not you can actually do a reliable link, and also what BOM you need, what bill of material are you going to require to do your network. All this has the cnWave built into it. And then we have the network planning tool, the advanced network planner, and cnHeat. cnHeat is a tool which, using LiDAR data, enables you to plan these complex residential areas where you can actually work out just how many DNs you need to get full coverage. As you can see in the example right at the bottom, there are actually hundreds and hundreds of client nodes, but actually with a few well-placed distribution nodes, you can get coverage of that whole residential area. So just wanted to really just give you a quick overview. What makes cnWave useful for both business and residential service providers. Whether it's urban, whether it's residential, whether it's rural, you can deliver gigabit wireless to your customers reliably and quickly, easy to install and easy to manage. From that, you can then add Wi-Fi devices. You can go indoors, and whether it's indoors or outdoors, you can actually then backhaul that data through this distributed system. And then as far as industrial is concerned, you have something which is rugged and robust to even for the industrial environment as much as the residential environment. So with that, I'd just like to pause for a couple of minutes, and we're just going to show you a little video.
"60 gigahertz cnWave. Wireless is the new fiber." People need affordable broadband connectivity wherever they are. But how can a service provider rapidly deliver reliable multi-gigabit connectivity at affordable prices in locations where fiber technology is cost prohibitive? And how do you provide coverage exactly where it's needed while containing costs? Deliver multi-gigabit wireless speeds without all the hassle of trenching fiber with 60 gigahertz cnWave solutions. Now you can build a multi-gigabit wireless fabric from network infrastructure to last mile access. With our 60 gigahertz cnWave solutions, service providers rapidly connect people with better connectivity wherever they are. Enterprises easily and efficiently manage a private network tailored to the business. Utilities expand service offerings to include broadband. Customize cnWave to tailor the network to meet coverage and capacity needs. Point-to-point bridges between locations. Point-to-multipoint distribution networks. Highly efficient mesh networks to provide blanket coverage around obstacles. Leveraging the 802.11ay standard, 60 gigahertz cnWave delivers reliable high-speed connectivity at a low total cost. 60 gigahertz cnWave system components include the V5000 distribution nodes that support 2 coverage sectors up to 30 clients in a 280-degree arc with a single module. Client node options include the V3000 high gain module and the V1000 mid gain module. Plan the deployment with our Link Planner and cnHeat software tools. Manage the solution and the wireless infrastructure with end-to-end visibility in the CN Maestro management system. Network operators choose Cambium solutions for high reliability, cloud management with the CN Maestro system, and low total cost of ownership. Operators can deploy wireless broadband and indoor and outdoor Wi-Fi networks with confidence that they will work, even in demanding environments. Deploy fiber-like speeds now without trenching cables. 60 gigahertz cnWave solutions from Cambium Networks make it easy to deliver and manage edge connectivity and connect people, places, and things wherever they are. Wireless is the new fiber. Start building your solution today. Contact Cambium Networks.
Okay, Thank you, Anthony. That was very, very interesting as usual. I know we're a few minutes over, but just quickly, I've got a couple of questions just to fire at you. First one to do with the fact that there's several sort of Terragraph products coming to market. What's the advantages of the Cambium products over these?
Okay, I think there's a couple actually. We took a very close look at the standard. We took a look at the chipsets available and the solutions available, and it was clear we could do more. We don't just deliver just a standard product, a Me Too product. So yeah, you're not going to see anything like the V5000 is we've combined those two sectors, covering a wide coverage rather than just 90 degrees or 180 degrees. You can put more of those on a pole if you wish, if you want to cover the 360. But actually, what we actually see in all the deployments is very rarely do you actually need that. And then, of course, those CNs, that V3000 is very unique. That high reliability, high power that we can utilize in Europe. So I do see that we've taken the usual Cambium twist and magic and sort of and put our mark on the standard.
Okay, and finally, how much radio experience do you really need to plan and install these radios?
Well, I think that's what we're really trying to do here. In the past, the first slide of taking it off the mast and putting it down into the street, that really means that you don't need to have riggers and climbers and go up a 300-foot mast to install this. You can go down to the street level and distribute those networks, turn that non-line of sight into line of sight. And then, as far as the centralized management is concerned, you don't manage individual units. You put the unit up, it will connect, it ignites, as they call it. It gets the data from that centralized point, and you're up and running. So we're trying to make it as simple as putting a Wi-Fi access point up, and simplify that fixed wireless access solution.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, everyone. So now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Yes, it's the feedback form winners. So the lucky winners, and please contact Lisa Fraser afterwards for the information and which currency you'd like it in. The winners are Richard Penny of Fifth Utility Limited, Rob Leggett of Cyber Distribution, and Dan Smith of Strive Consultancy Solutions. So congratulations to all three of you. I hope you've all enjoyed this morning. I think it's been a tremendously interesting event, and again has shown the power of fixed wireless access. I'd like to thank the Cambium team, but I'd also like to thank the unsung heroes from Miro Communications. These are the people that have made this whole thing so seamless with their use of technology. I'm sure we've all worked on numerous platforms over the last year, some better than others, but this has been fantastic. So I would like to just thank everyone. And finally, I'd like to bring Dan back to the stage just to thank everyone and finish off the morning. Dan, over to you.
Well, thank you, Brian. You've stolen some of my thunder, because I was going to thank Lisa and Lorena from Miro too. But I also want to thank you. You've done a fantastic job of hosting today's event, as always.
Thank you.
Very professional and very entertaining. So thank you very much for that. And I would also like to thank all of our audience. Hopefully you found most of it, if not all of it, interesting and educational. So appreciate your staying with us for the last couple of hours. We will be following up with you in due course, obviously sharing the presentation slides with you and that kind of thing, and to see how we can assist you further. I'd like to thank our presenters, all of them, and especially our sponsors, as Brian said. I guess you'll all be following up with the sponsors directly yourselves, but if you have any problems, feel free to come to me or my colleague Tarek, who's done a great job of helping us promote this event as well, and we'll point you in the right direction. But thanks once again to everybody for their involvement, and to the audience for participating. Hopefully I'll see you again in person in the not too distant future. But until then, goodbye for now. Thank you very much once again for your time.
Thank you.